Locked On Giants Live returns. Traina, Dog, next.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode of the Locked On Giants podcast is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and the conditions apply. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Giants Live. You got P-Train, Traina, Dog. We're back. It's been a long time, guys. How you doing?
Yeah,
Good.
excited to be back talking Giants with you guys. Me and BadDog, we haven't even done our show in a couple of weeks. We'll probably, like I told him before, we'll wrap up the season, and then as the draft gets closer, I'm sure we'll do a lot more shows together. But yeah, I'm excited to be back talking Giants with you. I'm excited that the season's almost over, so we can get to the offseason and what we've been thinking about for the last, unfortunately, 2 months. So, but excited to jump on here and talk Giants with you guys.
I hope everybody had a great Christmas. I hope you guys had a great Christmas. New Year's is a Sunday, all right? So we got New Year's Eve with Giants and Rams. Looking forward to that one. Looking forward to getting it over with.
Yeah, pretty much.
34, man.
Yeah, definitely, guys. I mean, look, the season not really going the way we all hoped it would be. 2 more games left. I don't want to spend too much time rehashing the season because, the last month obviously kind of been a bit of a roller coaster. But I did want to start off with, the approach that the Giants are taking. And that, of course, is they still want to win these last 2 games, even though there is absolutely nothing to play for, even though, it's going to ruin their drafts, position. So they decided to go with Tyrod Taylor this week over Tommy DeVito. Let's start there. What did you think of that decision?
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I think the initial decision to keep DeVito in was the right one, as much as some fans made it like a huge topic on Twitter, which I don't really understand at this point. One guy is not going to be on the team next year. The other guy, you're looking to see if he could become the eventual backup. So I completely understood sticking with DeVito, especially if you won 3 games. You ride the hot hand. It was fun while it lasted. I think we all knew in the back of our head it was a bit of a fairy tale, but it gave us a reason to tune in on Sunday when this team was, going through the, as bad as it gets, or, whatever adjective you want to use to describe it. But it was a horrible year, and it gave us a reason to tune in. But yeah, at this point, listen, I mean, it doesn't really matter to me either way as a fan. But yeah, Tyrod's probably gives you the better chance to win. Do I think we would have won on Sunday if Tyrod started? Maybe. But the fact of the matter is the only reason we had a chance to win that game was because we had a pick 6 and we recovered a fumble inside the red zone. So it is what it is. I think the defense has been the driving force, during that 3-game winning streak. And Tyrod's probably a minor upgrade, but I don't think it makes a major difference in the outcome of the game. And I expect the team to go out there and try to win, but it really doesn't make a difference to me who starts at quarterback.
Didn't matter to me either. The Tommy DeVito thing was nice. We experienced it here. Chris and I mentioned it when this thing started. It was Linsanity all over again. A bad Knicks team, and a guy that kind of came out of nowhere, and Jeremy Lin, and for 2 or 3 weeks, he was the toast of the town, and that fairy tale was over really quick. As quick as it came, it ended. Same thing with Tommy DeVito. It was a lot of fun while it lasted. Listen, man, I understand people that want to lose games for draft position. I totally understand that. And I understand the people that want to win. It's hard to root against your team. I understand the benefits of both. Guys play for their jobs every week. Coaches are playing for their jobs. If not here, for somewhere else. You go out there and you act unprofessional and you tank. Who's going to say, oh, I want that guy. He wants to go out there and lose, or he's not giving 100% effort. He's not going to get a job. So these players don't care about the draft pick. The players in the Giants don't care about it. That's not their job. That's not their concern. That's Joe Shane's concern. That's not the player's concern. So I get it. But like Chris said, I'm pretty sure we all knew Tommy DeVito was not going to be a starter here. At the same time, I understand the reason to roll them. He had won 3 in a row. I mean, 2 in a row when he made that decision. And he had a good game against the Packers. He let us down there for a game-winning field goal, which was awesome. And at the end of the day, it's Daboll's decision. Personally, I don't understand the point of starting Tyrod, just because you really are playing for nothing here, and you might as well see if DeVito, get him, some snaps, get him some experience. He's probably going to be your backup next year. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, who knows? You just know Tyrod's not going to be the backup. But again, it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and get mad at the guy if we're going with Tyrod Taylor if he thinks that Tyrod gives him a better chance to win. What I saw from Tommy DeVito against the Saints and against the Eagles, in my opinion, is he's trying not to make mistakes. And you can't do that. I was too concerned about throwing an interception where I feel like when he first came out there, he was just gunning it. He didn't care. Like, he just was throwing the ball. He didn't care. And then all of a sudden, the hoopla. And I hope, I don't know Tommy, obviously, but I hope that, you don't start to believe your own hype. And obviously, this became a big deal. And he got his parents, and he got his agent, and he got this, and he's all over the place. He's doing all kinds of appearances, and he's got merchandise all of a sudden. So I hope that it's not that it got to him, but he's sitting there going, Jesus, now I have to live up to all this. And if I make a mistake, if I throw 3 interceptions, everybody's going to hate me. So you don't ever want to see a football player playing timid, especially in that position. I'm not saying that's what he did, but from when I watched against the Saints and against the Eagles in that first half, looked like a kid that was just scared to make a mistake. And he can't play football like that.
Yeah, to your point about, DeVito and leaving him in there to develop, he's going to be back on the roster next year anyway. He's going to have plenty of time. You figure Daniel Jones probably won't do anything all spring. He may not be ready for the start of summer training camp. Who knows if he's going to be ready for the start of the season, although already he's ahead of schedule from what I understand. But, here's the other thing. They're going to have to bring in another quarterback, whether it be a veteran, whether it be a draft pick, or it might even be both for all we know.
Yeah.
And if they bring in a rookie, especially, if they draft one in the first round, is that rookie, do you honestly think, really going to be ready to roll opening day? Probably not. Eli Manning, when he was, acquired via trade, they didn't start him until midway through the season. So maybe, you say, okay, look, if Daniel Jones isn't ready, you start Tommy DeVito for a couple of games. And then when Jones is ready, you put him in there, and then you keep working to get the rookie ready to roll right in there. So maybe that's the approach they're going to take.
Yeah, you're paying Daniel Jones. If that's, and I'm not sure that that's what they're going to do, if they're going to take a first-round quarterback, but if that's the route that they choose to go, you're paying Daniel Jones $45-50 million next year. You might as well try to take advantage of that. He's going to be on the roster. You have a rookie quarterback. The situation's less than ideal. We know the offensive line still has a lot of work to do. We don't have elite weapons. Let him learn and don't throw him right into the fire, knowing the pressures that the New York market brings. So ideally for me, if you draft a quarterback, the ideal situation with Jones starts the whole year and the guy gets to sit and learn. I know that probably won't happen unless the team overachieves significantly and wins 10 or 11 games and makes the playoffs. But yeah, for me, ideally, the longer that rookie gets to sit and learn and, feels more prepared when he gets thrown into the game, the better. But that would be ideal for me next year if we draft a quarterback. The
other ideal thing is if Daniel Jones does come back and he's healthy and you do draft the rookie quarterback and Jones plays well, he's got some trade value. We've seen a lot of teams lose their quarterbacks this year. You look at what Joe Flacco is doing in Cleveland. It's unbelievable. Joe Flacco has as many touchdown passes in 5 games as the Giants have all year. That's pretty distressing. But it just goes to show, you never know where you get your quarterback from. And a lot of teams had a chance to get Joe Flacco. The Giants could have brought in Joe Flacco. The Jets could have brought in Joe Flacco. Like, any of these teams could have brought him in. But that would be the ideal situation if they do draft a rookie quarterback and Jones is healthy and he plays well. And you already drafted a rookie, so you're not going to hold Jones there for the next 2 years. Yeah. Maybe you could get something for him if that's the route that they go. But we don't know where we're picking yet. I'm going to say we're going to pick 5th. I can't see Washington or New England. Maybe New England beats the Jets. Maybe they beat the Jets the last game of the season. Maybe Dallas has nothing to play for against Washington, and Washington can pull that one off too. I don't know. I just assume we're drafting 5th. And again, I don't know what Shane's decision is. Arizona's not going to take a quarterback. I don't think they can. Kyler Murray's going to be there for 2. His cap at the next 2 years is insane. So I don't think you want to draft a rookie and you're going to sit him for 3 years or 2 years, I think Arizona could get a lot of draft capital. I think they know that. So I do think that second pick is going to be up in the air for somebody if they want to go up and get it. I don't know. Again, this is all speculation. And unfortunately, like Chris said, we've been speculating about this since the middle of October because it's the type of season it's been.
Well, let me ask you guys this. I mean, I think we can all agree that they need to do something at quarterback.
Well, Shane already said it. He said they're going to do something.
Well, absolutely. But would you pass over, say, for example, let's say the Giants finish with a top 5 pick, and you have a chance to get a stud receiver or a stud pass rusher or a stud, offensive tackle, because now we've got this whole Evan Neal thing going on. Would you maybe say to yourself, okay, you know what? I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to wait on the quarterback until day 2 at the earliest.
You're asking me?
Yeah, both of you.
If I was Shane, here's the thing, and I've said this countless times. At the end of the day, if I'm Joe Shane, the way I think is my job is going to rely on the quarterback that I select. Inevitably, quarterbacks save jobs and they cost jobs in the NFL. And if I love a quarterback and I'm picking 5th, I'm doing everything in my power, including trading up if possible, to go up and secure that quarterback. I'm not messing around and getting my 3rd or 4th or 5th favorite quarterback by waiting to try to get value. It's too important of a position. So I identify that Drake May, for example, is the next elite quarterback prospect, and I have the opportunity to grab him. I'm doing it. I'm not going to mess around and try to get value and get a Brock Bowers or a Marvin Harrison Jr. No, I'm getting my quarterback. Because the way I look at it is you're sitting in a spot now where you're picking top 5. Not only you pick a top 5, this is supposed to be a rich quarterback draft class. This does not happen every year. We saw 2 years ago, the Giants had 2 picks inside the top 7, but there wasn't a quarterback worth selecting. So not only are you picking top 5, you're also picking in a situation where there are a plethora of quarterbacks potential, or at least 2 or 3 that are worthy of a top 5 selection. So if I'm Shane, I think I almost have to take a quarterback if the opportunity is there and I like one. So that would be my approach if I was Joe Shane.
It's hard to argue with what you say because, and we've mentioned this before too, it's a business. Now, if you're Joe Shane and you want job security, the way you get job security is by drafting a rookie. Because and I know Chris has mentioned this before, say that you can get Drake May or you can trade up and get Drake May. Say Drake May falls to 5th. I don't think he will, but just say for the sake of Jaden Daniels, we'll use him as an example. He's sitting there 5th. And you decide to go Romo Dunze, who I love Romo Dunze. I think he's the best. That'd be great. I love him. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best, but I love Romo Dunze. So if you pass in the quarterback and you hit your wagon to Daniel Jones, and I'm not even going to say he doesn't produce. I'm going to say he gets hurt again. Say his neck, something happens to his neck. We see this now. We don't know what the hell the Giants medical staff is doing, and it's been a question. We've been questioning that for years, Chris. What are they doing? And now it comes out that they really don't know what the hell they're doing. But I digress. Say he hurts his neck again. And Jaden Daniels kills it. You're fired. You're gone. That's the end of it. If you draft a rookie and you're obviously have to have Daniel Jones there next year because of the $69 million dead cap, you're not cutting him. Yeah. Your clock doesn't start until that rookie starts. And then, yes, that's the way you're going to be judged. If he comes in there and he stinks, at least you bought yourself an extra 3 or 4 years. Whereas opposed, if you stick with Jones and the rookie that you passed on is really good, you're probably going to lose your job immediately. So
yeah, and it's almost. I had the same mindset last year when it came to Daniel Jones because in terms of keeping him, because Shane was in a situation last year where he was not able to draft a quarterback. He was not in a position to trade up for a quarterback. So for everybody that said, oh, just sign this journeyman or just keep Tyrod Taylor. Obviously, in hindsight, it's easy to say, well, I told you so. But before anything took place this year, if you're Joe Shane, same thing, BadDog, that you said. If you let Jones walk and he goes to Washington and balls out, you get fired again. You're in a horrible situation. So it's in the same situation this year, but now you have the opportunity to draft what could be an elite quarterback prospect. And if you bypass that for a quarterback that sustained 2 injuries this year, who's only had 1 really good year since he's been in the NFL, and the team bombs again next year, and Drake May or Jaden Daniels or whichever quarterback the fans are outraged that you passed up on looks really good. Like say Drake May, you had an opportunity to draft him and he looks like CJ Stroud this year. You're fired. You're gone.
Yeah.
And I think it's why. And again, maybe he won't like one of the quarterbacks. But if Shane likes these quarterbacks, I would be stunned if he doesn't take one if he has the opportunity to do so.
I think he's got to, absolutely, because, look, and here's the other thing. Give Dable and whoever's going to be the offensive coordinator next year, and I don't think it's going to be Mike Kafka. I would be very surprised if he's back. Give Dable a chance to put his fingerprints all over the quarterback. At this point, I know there are Daniel Jones supporters out there, but at this point, is it fair to say that Daniel Jones is a broken quarterback between the injuries, between all the different, systems that he's had to learn and master, between, the fact that his processing time is still slow. And here's the other thing. People will say, oh, fix the offensive line. Forget about the quarterback, fix the offensive line. Well, you know what? You're not going to fix the offensive line in one offseason. I just don't see it happening. Right. You have to have at least 3 studs, I think, on the offensive line. They've got one that we can say for sure. Andrew Thomas. John Michael Schmitz, maybe he will develop into a stud. This year he was a little up and down.
You don't know, though. You don't know.
Right. You're going to replace both your guards in all likelihood. All right. Who knows if Evan Neal is going to be ready? So you have to get somebody in there at quarterback who can process faster. And that is the one thing that Daniel Jones, throughout his career, regardless of the system or whatever, he has struggled to show that he can do is process, make snap decisions.
Yeah, he doesn't see the whole field a lot of times. And that's the other thing. People say, I love when people are like, oh, you can't draft the quarterback till the O-line. Can't ever play. Well, that's not the case, because if you have a good O-line, you're going to be drafting later in the draft. You're not going to be able to get a top 5. CJ Stroud came into a terrible situation. He obviously made it better. Now, the Texans are far from perfect, but they're 8-7. This is a team that was 3-13-1 last year. And CJ Stroud comes in throwing a Tank Dell and Nico Collins, and the guy's going to win Rookie of the Year. And for a while here, should have been in the MVP conversation.
I still think he should. I think he still should be in the MVP conversation.
Yeah,
he won't win it, but I think he should be in the conversation.
But it's just, you cannot wait for the perfect scenario to take a quarterback. Like Chris always says, if you like a guy, you do whatever you can to get the guy. And then then it's your job to build around it. So I made the video at the very beginning of the year when I said the Giants ruined Daniel Jones, because Daniel Jones doesn't process quick enough and the line stinks. And that combination is a recipe for disaster. If Daniel Jones goes to a better team, he's going to be better because he'd have a little bit more time. And maybe that's a quarter of a second means a world in the NFL. But we've seen Jones hesitate to throw receivers open. We've seen Jones miss open receivers. And people can talk about, oh, you got to fix the offensive line. Patty, you nailed it. You can't fix it in 1 year. So bring him back next year. He's behind a bad offensive line again, and then that's going to be the excuse. Well, we ain't got an O-line. So by the time we fix the O-line, say the Giants draft the O-line well this year and well next year and the year after that. Now the O-line's good. Daniel Jones' contract's up. What do you do?
Well, not only that, if the offensive line improves and the team is going to do better next year. They are, especially if Jones is the starter, because they're playing a softer schedule. And they're more than likely not going to. So now you're not in a position to draft a quarterback. And who knows when the next time when you're going to have a rich quarterback class like this, like where you get a combination of both. Not only like the last 2 times where the Giants were thinking about taking a quarterback, one was the year they drafted Daniel Jones. That was not a rich quarterback draft class, which was a big reason why BadDog and me flipped out the way that we did, because we kind of viewed it similar to the draft when Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis got drafted and everybody bypassed the quarterback position and they focused on other areas. That year we thought they should have done that. 2021, we thought they should have done that. We didn't want them taking Malik Willis. We didn't want, because we knew that was not the strength of the draft. But this year, the Giants are picking in a similar spot to where the Chargers were when they took Justin Herbert, to where the Dolphins were when they took Tua. It is a rich quarterback draft class. And if you need a quarterback, which the Giants clearly do, and I like Daniel Jones, and I root for Daniel Jones, at the end of the day, the guy has not been able to stay on the field. At the end of the day, in the limited sample size we saw this year, he showed that he did not grow as a quarterback. Is it all his fault? No, we recognize there are so many bad parts of this football team. But at the end of the day, if you have the opportunity to reset the rookie clock and draft a potential Joe Burrow or a potential Justin Herbert. You do it. And if Joe Shane feels that way, you have to. I don't think he has a choice. He has to go quarterback if he likes a quarterback in this year's draft class.
And look, and listen, not for nothing, but you don't think Shane maybe looked at this year's or this coming draft class and said, it's going to be a rich class. So you don't think maybe that factored into how Jones's contract was set up? Because lo and behold, guess what? They have an escape hatch after this year. I mean, if they thought for sure Jones was their guy for the long term, do you think they would have put an escape hatch in there?
He would have 6 years.
They would have given him a blind faith contract like the Eagles did for Hurts, like the Chargers did for Herbert.
Exactly.
This was not the plan. The plan was clearly Jones is going to be the starter for 2 years. Then maybe we'll consider a quarterback. But this was always a possibility with the type of contract that they signed him to, that if it was a doomsday scenario and everything went wrong like it did this year, and you have the opportunity to draft a quarterback, you could do it. And that's where we are.
Right. And if Jones did take that step forward and the Giants made the playoffs again, and then he was good the year after, then you can go, well, we got a bargain on him. Because it was almost like a 2-year extension with a team option after the second year. That's the way I look at it. People are like, you should have tagged him. Well, they couldn't, because it's $32 million to tag him, and you can't maneuver the money. We had no money to begin with.
Right.
So you could not afford to tag him, and especially after the Barkley negotiations fell through, because you couldn't tag them both. So you were losing one of them. So Daniel Jones, Patty, I think you mentioned this a while back. Daniel Jones had the leverage, and they had to do something. They came off a playoff win. And like Chris mentioned, hindsight's always 20/20. Oh, I knew he should have taken Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's over 10. I knew that was the guy. Well, great. Joe Shane didn't know that. So maybe the people that are saying that should be the GM of the Giants. I don't know. Okay.
Yes.
But what I do know is that's the way I perceive this to be. It's a 2-year extension with a team option to get out of it.
It's 2 tags. That's what it was.
Right.
That's what it was.
And then not for nothing, though, everybody was saying, the Giants should have given Jones an offer, then let him test it on the market and they had to do it this way because, as you said, they didn't have money. They go and they franchise tag Daniel Jones. That's $32 million versus the $10 million or so.
Okereke is not here if we tag Jones.
Right, exactly. You don't have Okereke, and God knows who else you don't have. So there was just, that was the scenario. I mean, I saw that coming from Pluto.
Everybody knew. Everybody that was rational and not a hater knew that we were going to. Well,
everybody who understood the finances, I think, saw that was the direction it was going. And, all right, now people are like, oh, well, what about Saquon this year? Well, you know what? You can tag him again this year if you want to keep him.
Yeah.
He might not like it. He might hold out the whole, spring again. Go for it, Saquon. If that's how you feel. The guy's another year older. The guy's got, had another injury this year.
Yeah.
His chance of getting the big payday probably has shrunk.
He's not getting a big payday. He's not getting a big payday.
Of course he's not. At this point, if he gets a 3-year deal with a 2-year out, I would take it.
Yeah.
I'm always baffled by the fans that are like, oh, you got to fix the O-line. You got to pay Saquon too. I'm like, you can't do both, right? So to me, if you really want to fix the team, and I love Saquon, he's one of my favorite Giants, class act. He's a great guy. He works his ass off. He's had bad luck, okay? But you got to put the money in front of the quarterback, not behind the quarterback. Right. Exactly. This is what we have bitched about the Giants offensive line for 10 years. So giving Saquon Barkley an extension and giving him $14 million a year while neglecting the O-line is going to put us in the same situation we're in. Sometimes when things are really bad, you just need to rip the Band-Aid off. Look at what the Eagles did. They gave Wentz this massive contract, and then they drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round the same year that they did that. And then Carson Wentz stunk, and they said, you know what? Get out of here. We're going to ride with Jalen Hurts. And lo and behold, the Eagles got out from underneath the contract. And look at the Eagles now. I hate the Eagles. But look at them. Look at what Howie Roseman accomplished. So it's not just, you just signed Jones, can't draft the quarterback. Yes, you can. It works.
Yeah. And to, regarding the offensive line, I had this question asked to me. I'm going to just throw it out here for discussion real quick. Normally, I don't like to advocate for people to lose their jobs, but let's look back at the history of the offensive line coaches that have been here versus the talent, and I'm going to look at John Feliciano as the most recent example, since he was on this roster
Yeah.
last year and he was with Buffalo the year before and got benched. And now, oh, by the way, he's playing really well for the 49ers.
Yep.
If that's not a sign that, the coaching needs to be rethought, I don't know what is. I mean, am I crazy for thinking
No,
that?
I mean, and it's not just him. Eric Flowers got better.
Yep.
I don't know if Will Hernandez got better or not. He was kind of a disappointment here, but no, I do think there's definitely personnel too. I think we need more talent on the line still, as crazy as that may sound to some, but I think the biggest thing is the coaching. And part of it is we're constantly flipping coaches, but you have to fire Bobby Johnson. The offensive line's been that bad, but they have to make sure the next guy that they hire here can
Teaches
stick
them to pick up
around.
stunts.
And they could stick around for 3 or 4 years. So these guys aren't constantly learning a new blocking technique. But yeah, Bobby Johnson's been a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, Evan Neal, I'm not giving up on Evan Neal yet. You drafted a guy 7th overall, and I was reading somewhere, a lot of people get on Joe Shane's drafts because of Evan Neal. I'm like, have you actually looked at the guys he's drafted? They played pretty well. Deontay Banks is a home run.
Yeah.
Without question. JMS looks pretty good. His rookie's had his ups and downs. Jalen Hyatt has shown to be a very explosive receiver, but we don't have a guy that can get him the ball. Micah McFadden's been fantastic, since he got here. Kayvon Thibodeau, same thing. Has superstar potential, got to be more consistent. But you see,
Wandell had spurts.
Right, Wandale's another one. Wandale's probably our best receiver.
Yeah.
So he's done a good job, but he was saddled with a lot of bad players, and no financial flexibility to really fix it. And that's why, to me, this is Joe Shane's year. You're going to have an opportunity to get a quarterback. Most of those Gettleman contracts are gone. The Gettleman guys are gone. Now you're going to have 35 to 40 million in cap space before you maneuver, cap around, and do all the things that these guys get paid all that money for. That's way above my head. But you're going to be able to maneuver stuff. You're going to have more cap space. You're going to be a little bit more flexible. You can do other things. So he's going to be able to bring in his guys for Dable's system. This is where Joe Shane really needs to be measured. It's going to be this year. This is it. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, as far as he goes.
Next 2 years. Next 2 years. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, think about it. I mean, this year that the Giants had maybe should have been the year they had last year, but because of the newness of this coaching staff, the systems, just the whole program, plus the soft schedule, you had a surprise year. Okay, great. We enjoyed it. Our expectations shot up and we came crashing back down to earth, and then, you throw in the injuries. And by the way, speaking of injuries, again, that's been I'm sure for everybody, pet peeve. Joe Shane at the presser, I asked him, at the bye-week presser about injuries. And he said, but if it was just one, particular injury, we would hone in on it. Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to ask the question again. And I'm going to say, you've had a lot of soft tissue injuries.
There you go.
Hamstrings, groins, ligament issues, whatever. That, to me, you can lump together. So there's got to be something that you have to identify that you can fix. What that something is, I don't know. For those of you who missed it, I had Pratik Patel on the program a few weeks ago. Pratik used to be a strength and conditioning coach for the Giants. He was their lead nutritionist, actually. And he gave some really good insight into the program, what they used to run, why injuries pop up, some of the factors. And he also gave some ideas on what he thinks they could do moving forward based on, what he knows. So do check that out if you haven't had a chance to.
Sounds good. I didn't get a chance to watch that one, but I think I will.
Yeah. So, I mean, injuries, we can talk about that, but, this is a big year, a big off season coming up for Joe Shane with the decisions. I mean, some of them to me are pretty obvious. You mentioned the quarterback. Now you can say, oh, well, with the Evan Neal situation, you could say offensive tackle, but they're married to Neal being a tackle. And I just wonder if they bring in a better offensive line coach or a different offensive line coach, does that fix the problem?
Yeah, I left that. I think it was during the bye week, the press conference that Shane had. I left that saying to myself, okay, Neal's the tackle next year. Like before that, I was kind of maybe they could move him to guard and draft a tackle if they really like one. No. Neal's absolutely going to be the starting right tackle next year. I don't know if he'll
Which
be the
is
starting right
going
tackle after
to tell
that.
you, Chris.
What is
They're
that?
not drafting. They're not drafting a lineman fifth. It's not
No,
happening.
they're not. No, they're not.
No. No. I mean, if anything, if it's not a quarterback, I could see a receiver.
That's what it would be.
Maybe
I think
an
it's those
edge
two.
rusher, but I don't
think
even
it's
think it
those
would be
two.
an edge rusher at that spot.
Yeah, I think
I
it's
don't.
possibly an edge, but I think I would lean receiver.
It's got to
if
be
not
either a quarterback or a receiver.
I
Yeah.
don't see how they go. I do not see how they don't go quarterback. And again, people can say you're hating on Daniel Jones. Listen, I've for 5 years I've had a contentious relationship with Daniel Jones, and I don't hide this. If I wanted, I love when people go back and go, "Oh, this is a bad take. Oh, you flip flop." If I cared, I'd hide the videos or make it private. Like I don't care. I know what I said. I love when people go back and go, "You said that." I know what I said. I know what I said. I'm getting older, but I remember what I said a couple of years ago. I may not remember what my wife tells me. It's a different story. This is football.
Typical
Seriously,
husband.
it is. But there's no way. Again, lack of production aside, he's going into year 6 and it's the line sucks and he's got no receivers and it's coaching and it's this and it's that. Instead of just, maybe it's just him. But year 6, we should not be trying to figure this out anymore.
Yeah.
So the
opportunity,
injury history is the biggest thing.
Yeah, and the opportunity is just too great where we're picking and the type of the draft class that's just at the quarterback position. It's just it's the perfect storm. It's the reverse of 2021, where because of this draft, they had to keep Jones because of the perfect storm in Jones's favor that there was no quarterback worth taking. This time around, it's the reverse. It's the perfect storm. You're not going to get a better class than this for at least a few more years.
Do you think that say 2021 was bad, but just say it was class of 2020 was 2021. Do you think that Dave Gettleman would have said I screwed up and taken a quarterback?
Probably not.
By the way, I say 2020. I meant 2022. That's the class I'm talking about where we had the 5th and 7th pick.
Yes.
Yeah, I keep messing up the year. 2021. If we go back in time, yeah, I mean, we probably should have traded up for a quarterback, but
Gentleman wasn't going to do that.
This combine coming up, I'm planning to get out to that combine because I think this is one you want to be at to see what you can find out and get a feel for stuff and whatnot. But this is going to be an interesting combine to say the least.
Yeah, well, Giants fans will definitely have their eyes glued to the screen with the quarterbacks because
absolutely.
I'm going to tell you what, Patty. Not only do I think we're taking a quarterback, I do not think we'll be taking a quarterback at 5. I think we are going to be trading up to get a quarterback because
you think they're going to trade up?
Yeah, because here's the thing.
So what do you think they trade up? What do you package?
Arizona.
I don't know the team, but I would think if you're the Giants, you look at it. There's 4 teams in front
one of those second rounders.
More than that,
you'd have to give up next year's first as well.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be more than a second rounder. But you look at the teams in front of us, there's at least 3 of them that could take a quarterback. And then there's like 3 or 4 teams behind us, probably within the next 4 or 5 picks that could take a quarterback. So if you're the Giants and you like a quarterback, how do you just say, oh, yeah, let's just hope that Jaden Daniels, or let's just hope that this guy falls to us at 5? I can't see it. I not only are we going to be taking a quarterback, in my opinion, I think we're going to trade up. Now, of course, the trade has to be there. But I don't think Joe Schoen sits on his hands and says, yeah, we're going to hope that, Drake May falls to us at 5. No, he's going to go up to 2 and he's going to make sure he gets him.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree. I think Joe Schoen is, he's a younger guy. He's more modern than Dave Gettleman. I think he knows he needs to be aggressive. And again, when your job's on the line, if you really like a guy and you're tied to your head coach, and Brian Dable says, listen, I love Drake May. Let's go up and get Drake May. And Joe Schoen calls Arizona and says, all right, listen, we'll give you number 5. We'll give you next year's first, and we'll give you Seattle's second round pick this year, whatever that may be, 45 or whatever. So you give up number 5 this year, you give up 5, 45, and then you give up next year's first and a third next year's. Say that probably gets that done.
I think so.
In my estimation. So he says, okay, that's what we're going to do. Because next year, you don't know where you're picking. You don't know the draft class. You don't know who's going to, Ewers, I don't know who's declaring. I don't think Shedeur Sanders
will probably be available
right next year. And Dylan Gabriel probably, but I mean, who else?
But like you said, who knows? For all we know, the Giants might be picking 25th next year.
Right? They could be picking. They could be picking 13th. Then what do you do?
You don't
You're
know.
going to have another bad year where they're 6-11, but they pick 13th. Then what do you do? Then if you want a quarterback and it's not as good as this class, then you got to trade way up and give up more draft capital.
Yeah,
this is the year to make this happen because again, Joe Shane can bring a couple of his guys in here with some more money. The more the free agents that he wants, he can start building. They could easily look and go, we love Drake May. Just say, love Drake May. We're going to do everything we can to get Drake May, and let's plan for getting Drake May, and then let's plan on getting the guys around Drake May that works with Drake May, the guys that work with his system, the guys that work with his skill set. This is what these guys get paid to do. Yeah. We have to trust Joe Shane, regardless of what he does. We, as mad as we want to be about it, and as pissed off as fans get about winning games, and as pissed off as fans get about, I don't want a quarterback, I love Daniel Jones. It don't really matter what we love. This is Joe Shane's decision. And whatever he does, whether I agree with it or don't, I got to support it because he's the guy. And if we're going to win, we have to rely on him to do his job. I'm sick of losing. So whatever he deems is best for the Giants, I have to go along with it until he gives me a reason not to.
Yeah,
exactly. And, quarterback, like you said earlier, this is 6 years now with Daniel Jones, and we're still asking questions.
Can't happen.
Right.
People talk about, guys who were put on scholarships, and I get it. Daniel Jones, the Giants did him wrong. I mean, I'm not denying that.
100%.
But at some point, you got to rise above that. And, between the injuries and between the slow processing time and just the other factors, at what point do you say enough?
Listen, at the end of the day, life is not always fair, and it may not have been fair to Daniel Jones. I don't feel too bad for him. He got a big contract.
Yeah.
It's not like Sam Darnold. You want to feel bad for a quarterback? Feel bad for Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold never got the big second contract. Sam Darnold got thrown out in New York without any support his entire time there. His best wide receiver was Robbie Anderson. He had no offensive line to speak of. They gave him 3 years, and they got rid of the guy. He was set up for just as much failure, if not more, than Daniel Jones was.
Zach Wilson's another one. You throw him right in there, too.
Zach Wilson.
There's plenty of others. So that's just life in the NFL. It's not always fair. If we move on from Jones, I do think he could be a good quarterback. There's a reason I wanted them to bring him back this year. I thought it was the best decision based off the situation we were in. And I do see potential for him to be a very good quarterback in the NFL. I won't say elite. I won't say great. But I think if he gets put in a good situation, he may thrive. And I'll root my ass off for him. He's a great kid. But I don't think his future, unfortunately, is going to be with the New York Giants.
Yeah, he just doesn't work here. Again, I'll go until the day he retires. I'll always think Daniel Jones has the physical skill set to play very well in the NFL. Yeah. When you process slow and that offensive line is bad, and now he's got a torn ACL, which takes a big weapon away from him, which is his legs. Okay. Who knows what that's going to mean? So now you got a quarterback who's had 2 neck injuries, a torn ACL. You're going to stick him back there behind that offensive line again and say, we're going to pass on the quarterback. Let's throw him back there and see what happens. That's not what he's going to do.
It's like being in a 5-year relationship with a girl, and you remember the potential that she had, and she remembers the potential that you had, but you're both dragging each other down. The Giants are dragging Daniel Jones down. Daniel Jones is dragging the Giants down.
Bad marriage.
We need a break. Daniel Jones needs to date a new girl, and we need a new girl for us. That's where we are.
It's true.
Great analogy. I like that.
That was good. That was good.
That's a good analogy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Giants, they just got to break up.
From experience.
What it is. What it is. And I mean, I can't really speak to experience. I've been the same woman for a quarter of a century, so I don't know. But and when I was younger, I certainly didn't date for 5 years. That was pretty 5 months, maybe.
All right,
I didn't date much either. I basically married my only.
But I know, Chris. It actually is a good analogy. You don't want to break up because you don't want to admit, hey, we both made a mistake here. But sometimes it is better for both parties. Listen, I can speak from experience. My parents, they got divorced when I was young. Guess what? Both of them went on to find other people and get remarried. Right now, my dad passed away years ago, but he was married to his second wife till he passed away. And my mom was married to her second husband until he passed away. So obviously they found happiness after. Just didn't work with them. They still cared about each other, but it didn't work. Just like the Giants. It's not like if Daniel Jones goes to Minnesota I'm going to go, screw it, MIOB gets killed. No, I don't care, but he's not the future quarterback of the Giants. It just did not work. They did not build correctly around him. You can blame Gettleman, but don't blame Shane for that. It's not Shane's fault. He didn't build that team around Daniel Jones. Gettleman did that.
You got to hope that Shane doesn't do the same thing to the guy that he brings in.
Correct.
I don't think he would.
I don't think he will either.
And if he does, he should be fired. But I don't think he will. So, all right, guys, got to take a quick break. When we come back, we've been talking about the offense. We'll swing over and we'll talk a little bit about the defense right after this. Hey, Giant fans. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available, right? So that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. I've used LinkedIn Jobs myself to find aspiring writers for Giants Country, the site that I run over on SI's Fan Nation, and the process is not only super easy, but a big time saver. Simply add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize whom you'd like to interview and hire. So don't spend time sorting through endless resumes and dead-end leads. Put LinkedIn Jobs to work to you today for free by visiting linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. Terms and conditions apply. Hey, Giant fans, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you all day, every day, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, everybody, welcome back to Locked On Giants Live. Entertainah and BadDog, we are back after a month. It feels like it's been longer than that.
Has it really been that long?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was before the bye week. Don't you remember? Because I think we did our show before the bye, and I said there was going to be another show because I was going to go concert hopping.
That's right. I remember that. So we did see DeVito's first win, though. We did do that.
Yeah. Yes, that we did see.
That's right. We had the buy in there. That's right. It has been time flies.
Yeah, it's been over. And we would have done it sooner had I not gotten COVID. But because I was stupid and I didn't mask up as much as I should have, I got COVID.
But did you enjoy the show? Was the question.
I saw 3 shows, dude. They were awesome.
Good.
There you go.
The last one, though, that one was just somebody sitting in front of me got sick all over the place, but I made $100 because some guy offered to swap seats with me, and he paid me $100 to move back 6 rows. So I'm like, shoot, I'll take it.
Yeah. Music still sounds the same 6 rows back.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds a little better with an extra $100.
So yeah, I mean, I had a good time. It was a nice break, and I needed the break from all the losing and just football. And I felt like I came back, even though I had COVID when I came back. I felt more focused and sharper with my football stuff. So it was a long break, having the bye week that late. Oof. I hope it's not the case next year. But anyway, guys, let's talk about the defense because we've been talking about the offense in the first part. For me, if nothing else, and I'm sure Shane has a laundry list of things he wants to do on the defensive side. Could they please get another pass rusher to complement Thibodeau? Because I'm sorry, I like Azeez Ojulari, but he's always hurt, which drives me nuts. Yeah. Jihad Ward ain't it.
No.
Right. Isaiah Simmons, I think he's going to have a role, but he hasn't really had that role as a pass rusher. He's been more of a spy for them. Get another pass rusher. I've been screaming about this now for 2-3 years?
They certainly could use another pass rusher. I mean, if you told me right now what's the biggest needs on that defense going into next year, that would be number one for me. A second pass rusher opposite Kayvon. You think about what a legitimate, and I wouldn't be shocked if they go the free agency route with that, by the way. I don't know how much they plan to spend in free agency, and I don't know who's available, but I wouldn't be stunned if they go for an established, maybe 27, 28-year-old pass rusher, because that would really enhance Kayvon. It would enhance Dexter Lawrence even further when you have a legitimate guy to worry about But I agree. I think that's a big need for this defense next year. And then the second corner. I think the second corner is a big need next year because you're going to lose a Dory. I think they're going to need a second corner in this defense as well, along with potentially a safety, depending on what happens with McKinney.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
think
looking
so.
at a couple of defensive ends that are undrafted free agents. And how about this Jonathan Greenard kid for Houston? He's got 13 sacks and 22 hits. He's 26 years old. That'd be pretty good. Whoever Danico Autry is, I don't even know these guys. I don't watch Houston or Tennessee. Oh, he's 33. You don't want him. But yeah, this is he's got 12. He's got 12 sacks. That's crazy. I'm looking at quarterback hits, but Jadeveon Clowney's having a good year for Baltimore as well. I don't know what these guys are going to get paid either.
Yeah,
but, Chase Young's a free agent.
Yeah,
but you know what? I haven't sat down and looked at the cap space.
That's
and
insane.
It's going to change, obviously, because there's going to be some postseason accounting that has to go on. Right. Guys who didn't earn bonuses and stuff like that. And then guys that are going to get cut or have their contracts renegotiated. I do think that they're going to go the free agency route for a pass rusher. I think that's the way to do it. Put your resources into building up the offensive line, get the quarterback, obviously, maybe get yourself a veteran offensive lineman, but really, and for the second, cornerback, I don't know. Do you think Trey Hawkins can develop into that guy, or do you think,
maybe,
do you go veteran?
You go, or maybe Cordell Fly. I don't know, but I would like a veteran.
Getting posted, man. He can't tackle.
I would like at least a solid veteran signing there. But I agree with you. I think if they're gonna spend big, like last offseason, I thought it should be a linebacker, just because I didn't think they were gonna take a linebacker early in the draft, and it was such a pressing need. And I thought that if they were gonna spend big at one position, it should be linebacker. This year, I think it should be an edge, because the way I look at it is, I don't see an individual interior offensive lineman free agent making a gigantic impact by himself. That's a unit thing. I feel like they have to grow together. I would rather their younger players grow and get better. Maybe you draft a guard. I don't know. But if I'm going to spend premium bucks, I agree with you. I think it would be an edge, because I think there's a much higher probability that edge would have a bigger impact than an individual guard.
Yeah, I agree, because, you look at the Giants. I'm just looking at the Eagle game. And a lot of games, we can't get there with four guys ever.
Yeah.
So Wink dials are the blitzes. And then we started to get to Jalen Hurts, but you shouldn't have to bring 6-7 guys just to get pressure. You gotta have some guys that can make those plays on 3rd down and 11. Like when he went to court, the 3rd and 20 still agitates the hell out of me. You go to quarters defense, you don't rush anybody, can't get there. AJ Brown runs 32 yards on the field and just sits down in a hole right on the sideline. And I'm like, how is he that open? How do you if you're going to play quarters, you play up, 18 yards and make him catch the ball in front of you. Don't just let them go 30 yards on the field. But the fact that we can't get pressure with 4 guys speaks to the fact they do need another edge rusher. Kayvon certainly has had great games, but he's also had games where he hasn't had a great game. So it can't always rely on one pass rusher. They certainly could use
Kayvon has more than half the team's sacks, I believe.
Right. And also,
we're not getting it from anywhere else.
That's right.
And then also, that helps Dexter, because ever since they traded away Leo, teams are doubling and tripling Dexter.
Yeah.
So you get another pass rusher in there, and now you have to, if you're the other team, you got to devote resources to that guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's got to be priority number 1, in my opinion. Now, going back to the offensive line for a second here. If they change coaching, which I believe is going to happen. Don't know for a fact, but I think it's going to.
I think it has to.
Do you change the type of guys you bring in, or do you say, okay, you know what, the big system is Dable's system. We just plug and play. I mean, how do you approach that? Usually they try and get the guys that the coaches want to make the bigger system work. But what do you look for? If you're, looking offensive line, obviously, I think guards, although they'll say they have a couple of young guards that they probably didn't develop the way they wanted to. So can you salvage one of those guys? Do you re-sign Ben Bredesen, for example, to bring him back? I don't think Justin Pugh's coming back. I'd be surprised. So what do you do for that offensive line, and how much does the potential change of coaching affect that?
Well, I think you clearly stick with Thomas. I think they're gonna stick with Neal and obviously JMS. Those three are clearly coming back, and they're more than likely going to start. And then I think you hammer the guards, whether it be Azudu, maybe he has a good camp and he grows, or in the draft, or I think they're going to draft the guard, and I think they're going to draft the guard relatively early. It's not going to be in the first round, but I think there's a decent, especially if we don't use it, if we don't trade up and we have 2 second-round picks. I think we're taking a guard with one of those 2 picks. I think you have to. I think you have to try to draft a guard relatively early in this year's draft. We need 2 guards as far as I'm concerned. Bredeson's not a long-term answer. He's a stopgap for me. Always was. Glowinski's gone. So I expect them to draft a guard relatively early in this year's draft.
You think so? I'm thinking maybe. I don't think day 2. I'm thinking maybe day 3.
You think 4th, 5th round? Yeah.
Again, that depends on if they trade away. That's the other thing. Because if they make the trade that you were talking about earlier to get the quarterback, then that kind of limits, you're going to have to sacrifice something. So
I think we'll have a much better grasp of it after free agency. Like if the Giants go out there and sign a wide receiver, I'll say, maybe, then maybe they'll go guard with that second round. But I guess we got to wait till see what they do in free agency. But I think they have to take a guard at some point in this draft. They have to.
Unless they sign.
Do you think
unless they sign one,
and McCaffin can develop? Do you think they were a victim of, poor coaching, or are they just not that good?
They also played out of position too. I mean, they had him playing tackle. And it's not really Azuda's not a tackle. Neither is McKeithen. So I feel like Azuda could be a good guard. But again, when you have young players, it does come down to coaching and the way these guys are coached. I just look at Andrew Thomas. Now I know Andrew Thomas had some injuries he dealt with year 1, but I remember he got off to a terrible start, and that's when the whole Joe Judge, Mark Colombo thing blew up because the Georgia coach came out, or the line coach said, "What the hell are they doing to him? This is nothing we taught him here." Like Colombo's teaching him a totally different thing. They got rid of Colombo, and all of a sudden, Andrew Thomas became an all-pro, right? Or he plays at that level. So it does speak to the fact that coaching has a lot to do with developing these players. You can be great in college because a lot of times you're going against guys that aren't NFL level pros. But you get to the NFL, I don't care who you're playing. That's an NFL level pro, or they wouldn't be there. So I'm not giving up on Evan Neal. I think Evan Neal has got way too much talent. He wouldn't have been 7th overall. I know Dallas, who's done really well. And that's what I was going to say earlier. I read something where the Cowboys really loved Evan Neal. And they obviously know what they're doing with the offensive line. So you got to get a new coach in here and see if you got nothing to lose. You got nothing to lose. This offensive line can't be worse. It cannot be worse. It cannot be worse. So make the coaching change. Bring in a veteran guard or draft one. Roll with your center, your 2 tackles, and let's go to work.
Yeah. I'm with you.
I mean, a question I get often, and I don't think we can answer it now because we've got to wait until the coaching carousel starts, is who's the best option for an offensive line coach out there? Who should the Giants go and get? And
Munchak,
right now can't put.
I hear a lot. So
who is it?
Munchak, right? Is that the name I hear all the
Mike
time?
Munchak?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking. Oh, sorry. The guy in New England, Sar something.
Well, he's been there forever.
Yeah, he retired, didn't he?
Yeah, he was the best offensive line coach in football for a long time.
Yeah, and where's Munchak right now? Is he with? He's not with Tennessee, right?
I don't know if he's with anybody right now. I think he's just out there. He was Denver's offensive line coach last. Yeah, he's out there. He's not with anybody. But that's a name I hear a lot of people bring up. So
he was with the Steelers most recently, I think.
Yeah. Denver. He was
with Denver. Yeah, 63-year-old. Okay, I could deal with that. Who's the guy that went to Cleveland? Their offensive line coach. Love to get that guy. And I remember that it wasn't oh gosh. Cleveland Browns offensive line coach. That guy I know was in demands, and at the time he didn't come here because
Bill Callahan. Bill Callahan.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if you go and you get somebody like that, you got to give them a promotion. You have to make him like the assistant coach or something, like assistant head coach or something like that, But he was a good candidate. And I remember they weren't going to get him because of the bad blood between him and Jason Garrett at the time.
Yeah, he was in very high demand. Callahan, I remember the last time around, so I'd love him, but he's currently with Cleveland, but I would love him.
Yeah. But so
Garrett got us again. Dr. Garrett.
The gift that kept on giving, right?
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, all right. So what other needs really stick out to you guys with this team? I'll give you one. And I know a lot of people are going to say, big deal. It's not a big deal. But I think the Giants could potentially move on from Darnay Holmes. Now, you guys are going to say, well, good riddance. But you know what? Darnay Holmes and Nick McLeod as gunners this year, they've done a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think they're going to move on from him. I thought that this year too, and they didn't. So we'll see.
Secondary's going to have a lot. They're going to have a lot of questions because Dory's not coming back, and I don't know what they're doing with McKinney.
I think he wants to. He wants to come back.
He might, but what are you going to pay him? I mean, it's
I gotta get with him and kind of see what he might be thinking there.
McKinney,
I know. Last I spoke to him, he was like he'd love to be back, but would he love to be back at a reduced rate? I mean, maybe. Who knows?
What's his market really going to be, though? I mean, he has not played well this year, Adoree, right? I mean, I know he had a pick six this past week.
He's not a ball hawk.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to have a huge market. I just don't view Adoree. I always felt like he was kind of a holdover from the previous regime. He was not the type of corner that they wanted in this defensive scheme. He's not a man. He's not like a Deonte Banks, a guy that I knew that they would draft a corner like that. I don't view him as a fit here. So I'd be surprised, regardless of what he's willing to take, if the Giants bring Adoree back.
Speaking of the scheme, one thing we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
Does Wink come back next year? Because there was that Jay Glazer report that he and Dable were headed for a divorce.
I hope he does.
Oh, I hope so too. But, does Wink draw interest maybe as a head coaching candidate? And does he look to get out of the Giants?
I'd be stunned.
That can influence what they do on defense as well.
I wouldn't be stunned if he's not back with the Giants. I think he will be, but I wouldn't be stunned with that. But I'd be stunned if he got a head coaching job. I mean, there were so many other years where he had more going for him than this year. The defense is not good. We've shown spurts, but with the Ravens, he had one of the best defenses in football. Even last year, he probably had more going for him than this year. So I don't think he'll get a head coaching job, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Giants move on. Do I think they should? No, I would bring him back, but I'd be very surprised if he got a head coaching job.
Yeah,
I hope
he may get interviews, but I don't think
I'll be surprised if Wink got a head coaching job as well. But you never know. I also don't know what they're going to do with Xavier McKinney.
I don't think McKinney comes back. I'm
What's that?
pretty sure he's not coming back.
I can't see the Giants putting all that money into McKinney because I got to imagine he's getting $16 to $18 million a year from somebody. I mean,
this is going to be
definitely
an
above average safety
situation all over again.
Yeah, he's definitely an above average safety, and somebody's going to pay him a lot of money.
Oh, absolutely. So, and it's not.
There's just too many needs here and I love McKinney. He's my favorite Giant. I mean, I don't buy a lot of jerseys. I bought his at the beginning of the year, so it'll suck. But I'm not a player guy. I don't cling to players. Like, I'm not going to get mad if they let McKinney walk. I understand it's a business, and I understand. Hey, listen, man, when you're where the Giants are and you ain't been good in years, and that offensive line is terrible, and you need an edge rusher, you need a wide receiver, you need a lot of other things. I'm not going to sit here and cry over, they didn't bring McKinney back for $17 million. Let McKinney go get his money. I don't blame him there either. It's a business. These players got to get paid too.
Think about this. I mean, you cannot bring back, in my opinion, you can't bring back Saquon and McKinney and get a veteran edge rusher. You're just not going to be able to do all three.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, they could tag McKinney technically, but they might also want to tag
outrageous
faster.
Yeah.
Is it that? How much is a tag for a safety?
It's like $19 million.
Yeah, it's going to be cheap.
There's no way they would do that then.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
So, what is the tag? Like the top 5 of the position, the average of the top 5 of the position? Is that how they get the
franchise tag? I believe is the top average of the top 5. I think.
Okay, then that would make sense.
So
Yes,
now,
he's
if
too
they let
much.
McKinney walk, do you feel comfortable with Dane Belton and the guys that they have on the roster? Do you go and look to get either a veteran or somebody in the draft?
So,
Veteran probably, and maybe draft one day 3. I
yeah.
don't. Pinnock's are really good for us, so I am comfortable with Shane finding somebody that can play.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. 17.2 next year for a safety is the
They're not
No
going
way
to.
they're doing that.
that's the
It'd be less
projected.
to tag Barkley by a mile.
Yeah, the running back tag is
Should be 12.
12.4, which is what it would be for Barkley, right? Because it's 20% on top of what. So yeah, Barkley, that's what it would be for Barkley. So it'd be $5 more million to tag McKinney.
Yep. And
Yeah,
and that $5 million can go towards an edge rusher.
We're not going to if we're going to keep
McKinney's
McKinney,
not getting tagged.
we'd
Yeah,
sign
and
him.
I think McKinney deep down knows that that's the case, and it's interesting. He's been playing well down the stretch here, trying to put some really stellar films so that he can drive up that marketing price.
Yeah, he's definitely played much better since he's had a couple of outbursts that probably weren't the smartest thing to say. But one thing I could say about that with McKinney was it showed he cared to me. I mean, at least he again when you're losing, a lot of stuff happens. I think Wink said it best, and there was this report from Jay Glazer that there was tension, and Wink and Dable don't like one another. And they asked Wink about it, and Wink said, "Listen, this isn't my first rodeo." He goes, "It's the same as it was last year. The difference is when you're 8-4, you don't talk about this stuff. When you're 4-8, you do." And that's exactly it. It's exactly it. Losing just breeds contempt. That's why I always say winning builds culture. The hell with we got to bring good guys in the locker room. It don't matter how good they are. When you're losing, you're going to be upset. It breeds contempt. But winning, it builds culture. Last year, look at the body language. Look at the way they responded to one another last year as opposed to this year. Mm-hmm. Way different, including the coach. Which, Brad, you saw that I put on Twitter. It's been a trying year for Dable. You can tell, but kind of threw the stuff down. Merry Christmas, whatever. This year has really worn on him. So you can tell because it's been a bad year. It's been a lot of controversy, injuries, poor play. Players, spouting off McKinney, Evan Neal, whatever. It's not been a good year for the Giants, and he's dealt with adversity, which something he said right at the beginning of the season, which was just an ominous sign when he said, well, every year is different. And every player deals with adversity differently, and we haven't faced any adversity yet. So we'll see what happens when we do. And there it is, all year.
You wonder if he knew something back then.
I don't know. I said it right at the beginning. There was just something weird about the team. I don't know. I couldn't put my finger on it.
The thing with McKinney, I think that what irked him is that he saw Dexter get paid. He saw Andrew get paid. He saw Daniel get paid. He wanted to get paid.
Without question.
And, Joe Shane, from what I understand, sat him down and explained to him, look, this is where we're at and this is what we're going to do. And we'll talk to you after the season. And I think that bugged McKinney. That got under his skin because he felt that he should have been amongst those getting new contracts early on.
Yeah, and if I was Shane, what I would tell him is, listen, you don't play quarterback, you're not a pass rusher, and you're not a left tackle. You're a safety. The fact of the matter is, safeties who get paid usually doesn't work out. How did it work out for Jamal Adams? How did it work out for Landon Collins? It's not a position where you should pay premium bucks.
It's a luxury position. It's luxury.
Not saying it. He doesn't deserve it. Someone will give it to him. He's a very good player. He signed a high-profile agent. That is a hint to me. He's not taking any discounts. He's not going to be like, I want to be a Giant for $14 million a year. I don't think so. And if you're the Giants, how are you going to give this guy $18, $19 million a year? I don't think you can. I just don't.
Yeah.
Not unless you want to get up on an edge rusher.
Yeah. The edge rusher is way more important. It just
Absolutely.
is. It's positional value. This is what I talk about all the time. I'm not going to get hooked on players. And it's an unpopular take for me. And because I'm like, you know what? If they let Saquon walk, I'm okay with that. I don't need to give Saquon 3 more years because the explosiveness since he tore his ACL, it's not there. And this line is not good. Then you don't need a superstar running back to succeed. You need a good running game, not a superstar running back. You know,
also
the
you look
Chiefs
at
won a Super Bowl with Isaac Pacheco. Is he better than Barkley?
I think the people that are at this point arguing for Barkley, I feel like he deserves the money. Like at the end of the day, he may deserve the money, but the Giants should not give it to him. That's the truth. They should not give him a franchise running back contract.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think they will.
Look at how his snap counts have dropped. You know, he's not being utilized on third down. And by the way, when he has to pass block, I don't know about you. Have you been impressed with his pass blocking? I know I haven't.
No.
Yeah.
It seems it also seems like something. He's not injured, but like it seems like he goes out a lot with something. Like his ankles tweaked, or his shoulders tweaked, or just something. He's just not the same player. He's dealt with injuries. He's older now. What is he? Almost 27? Is he 27 now? Or
next year he'll be 27.
Right. So it'll be in February. He'll be 27. So he's almost 27. And unfortunately for running back, you're coming out of you're pretty much done with your prime, unless you're just Adrian Peterson or somebody. But most of the time, running backs hit their prime that when they come out of college, which is why they want that contract. I mean, and that's why teams usually give it to him before the contract runs out.
Jonathan Taylor, perfect example. Right. He got it because he's 3 years in.
Yeah.
So that's the big difference. And now he's 27. He's dealt with another injury, and he's averaging 4 yards a carry. Part of that's the offensive line. I understand that, but he's not what he was when Eli was here. When I saw Barkley that year, it was just he was.
Maybe this is me being too, and I agree with you. He's not the same player he was his rookie year. But maybe this is me being too optimistic. I do think they're going to get something done because I don't think Barkley's market is going to be as high as people think outside of the Giants.
And he has a new agent too. Don't forget who came in late into the process last year.
Yeah, I don't know what it'll be. But I think it'll maybe 3 for 24. I don't think it's 3 for 27 with like an out after 2. I don't think it's going to be like a break the bank contract. I do think that they're going to come to some kind of middle ground this offseason.
Yeah, well, like I said, my point. Like if they let him walk, I'm not going to be upset.
No, I won't be upset either.
Yeah. Right, I'm saying I don't get hung up on players.
Yeah,
I just don't. I'm not going to get hung up on a guy because I like him better than other players, or I have my favorites. We all do, and I'm not going to say, "Oh my God, they got to get Saquon back here because he's Saquon."
Yeah,
Saquon's going to be gone at some point, whether that's next year, or whether it's 6 years from now when he retires or whatever.
I wouldn't put big money into a guy who comes out on third down. And interestingly, I said at the start of the season that I could see that being the case to keep him fresh. So I don't know. I don't think I would invest huge money in him, but if they can get something done modestly for 2 years, I would take that. I would definitely take that.
Yeah, I think they will. I think Saquon wants to retire, John. I really do. And
I think so too.
And I think he's also smart enough to realize he's a year older. He got hurt again. Not his fault. It happens. It's the NFL.
Yep.
You're not going to be as attractive this year. Last year he would have been. He would have gotten, I think somebody would have given it to him, but I don't see him getting more than maybe $9 or $10 million a year if he even hit the open market, because
if that much.
Because teams see around the league what the running back market is, and it only goes down and down and down. You could draft your next great running back. It's just the sad reality of the position.
A lot of players did get tagged this year. You know, Ezekiel Elliott walked. They tagged Tony Pollard. They tagged Josh Jacobs in Vegas. You know, it isn't what it is, because running backs getting phased out. Reason being, all these mobile quarterbacks that take touchdowns to the running back. I mean, Jalen Hurts has 14, 15 touchdowns. Now, 15 years ago, that's DeAndre Swift, right? But if you get down to the 2-yard line, you're like, I don't need the damn running back down here. I got the quarterback that we're either going to quarterback sneak, we're going to roll the quarterback out, we're going to bootleg it, we're going to RPO, whatever the hell they decide to do. Quarterbacks can move now. Quarterbacks can, take those touchdowns away from running backs. Running backs really get paid on that. That's where you want your running back. In between the 20s is great, and running game is very important. Again, the running game is very important, not the running back. The game itself, the ability to run the football with no matter who's there. So
exactly.
Barkley was nice to have hey, he can bust a 70-yard touchdown run. That's awesome. But what about the other 17 carries where he's getting 3 yards or 2 yards or minus 2 yards? And
Yeah.
you can't convert third down because you can't run the freaking ball and it's 3rd and 9 all the time, or you can't get 1 yard on 3rd and 1 because the line stinks, the running back don't hit the hole, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
It's the running game in general.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
I'll be honest. Maybe his ACL has something to do, like his injuries have something to do with it. I don't see Barkley finish runs. Barkley doesn't finish the run.
Yeah, next time he
goes
lowers his
down
shoulder, will be a first.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. All right, here's one we haven't talked about that I think we need to talk about. Would you run it back with Darren Waller next year?
Yes.
Yeah, because I don't think you save enough on your contract, but I think you save what, $5 or $6 million if you cut him.
I think it's you get a savings. I'll look it up, but it's the dead money hit is significant. Let me just look it up.
It's still significant. I think for me, I would bring him back for 1 more year, and then I'd probably move off after that. I think I'd bring him back because especially if you're drafting a rookie quarterback, and I recognize Waller probably will get hurt, and he'll probably only play 7 or 8 games. But if you have a rookie quarterback, I think you want to try to give him as much help as you possibly can early on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would. I just don't think what are you going to get for $5 million? That's what I ask myself. Like, would I rather pay Waller, or am I going to be able to find a competent tight end for $5 million in free agency? I think I'd rather just stick with Waller for a year.
Well, Waller, if you cut him, you save $7 million. You get a $7.3 million dead hit. It makes more sense to cut him after 2024 when you save 10.5 and your dead money is 4.9. So that's what I was thinking too. I think you do run it back with Waller. I know you've got the injuries and everything like that, but like you said, if you have a rookie quarterback coming in, you give this guy as much veteran help as possible.
Yeah, I think you cut Slayton. As much as I love him, I think he's been a good Giant. But
I don't know if they cut him. I'd be surprised if they cut Slayton.
Really?
But they save a lot. They save like almost $7 million or $6 million with him, right? His contract is almost $8 million. And
Let me see what Slayton's numbers are.
They save like 7.5 and they save like 6.75. They would save.
They save basically the whole $1 million. Yeah.
They'd save like almost $7 million. His contract's almost $8 million, I think. So they would save 6 and they would be on the hook for 1.75. But maybe what you do, and I'm just looking here, he's got a roster bonus, a prorated bonus. His base salary is 2.5. Do you maybe look to extend him an extra year?
If it makes sense, if it's an affordable deal, I'm completely open to that.
Yeah, I could see that being a case.
I think that's possible with Paris Campbell ain't coming back here.
Yeah, I'm completely
Paris
fine
is done.
if they elect to do that. If they go, let's extend you for another 3 years, pay you $18 million or something, I'm fine with that. But if he's not willing to do something like that, which I wouldn't blame him, if he felt like he could get more in the open market, I would move on. I would.
Do you think the Giants could take a big swing at a free agent wide receiver?
Well, if they
like
do,
a T. Higgins.
Well, if they do, I think we can agree they need a number one receiver. But could we maybe see more of Jalen Hyatt in there? I think Jalen Hyatt and Wandale are going to be in some order, 1 and 2 and 3. They're going to be 2 of the top 3. So to your point about Slayton, if you go and you say, okay, we got to get a number one receiver, and that number one receiver isn't Waller, do you say, okay, you know what? Now maybe we do have to bump Slayton out of the picture or do something with that contract? Or how do you kind of handle that?
It's tough. Especially if you're going quarterback. It's a tough situation. It's because you're not going to be able to draft a wide receiver in the first round. We'll find out. I mean, we'll find. I'm still leaning they're going to cut Slayton, unless, like you said, it's a situation like that where they can extend them. Then that could very well make a lot of sense. But I don't see him playing on that 1-year deal with the Giants next year.
Yeah,
no,
that's a big cap number.
It is. That's a big savings for the Giants. If they cut
let me
him,
see that bonus, that roster bonus is I gotta.
I will say
Slayton
is the kind of guy that I think would be willing to take less to stay here. He's shown that in the past, so I could see that happening. But but I could obviously see them cutting him too.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. I gotta dive a little deeper into the details of his contract again. But that one, because I think we can all agree they need a legitimate number one receiver, and they don't have it right now.
No, and I don't think Hyatt's going to be that as much as fans love him, as much as I love
Yeah.
him. I think he's going to be a nice player for this team. I don't think he's a one. I don't think Wandell's a one. The one is not on the roster yet.
No.
It's not on the roster yet.
Speaking of Hyatt, somebody earlier in the chat asked why we haven't seen a lot of Hyatt. And I have a theory. I'll just throw it out and you can tell me if you agree or disagree. Hyatt, when he was at Tennessee, what they asked him to do was different than I think what the Giants maybe were looking for him to do. And I just question if he was really developed and ready for the NFL. I mean, there's a reason why the guy slid down to the third round. So
Yeah,
I wonder if
He's a
it
project.
was just, this year, let's just get him up to speed, coach him up so that he can do more than just, run the deep ball, just run straight ahead and, catch the ball on the fly.
Yeah, I agree. No question. Yeah, that's pretty much what Tennessee was. They had 13 plays in their wristband, and then Hooker run back there and go, hey, run to the fire hydrant as fast as you can. I'm going to throw the ball there. That's pretty much what Hyatt did at Tennessee. Tennessee did not have an extravagant route trees for these guys. So, Pat, to your point, I think that's true. I think the Giants went out there, traded up for Hyatt. I mean, the man won the Fred Biletnikoff Award, so he obviously is a great receiver, and his best game was against Alabama, who had a really good defense. But that's the coach's job. You can't teach speed. You can't teach that 4.3 blazing fast speed. Might even be sub 4.3, but the kid can fly. I love Jalen Hyatt. I'm excited about Jalen Hyatt, but there is more to the NFL than just running a straight go or fly route down the side. There's way different stuff. So yeah, I think he has to develop, and I think that's the coach's job. Right? Let's get the kid in here with blazing fast speed. Let's get our home run hitter. Let's get our deep threat, and then we'll have to develop him. So I do think that's part of the reason. And there's been other times he's been open and the quarterback just can't get him the ball, whether that's because he's under pressure, because he doesn't see him, or because he underthrows him. I've seen the quarterbacks underthrow Jalen Hyatt all year when it seems that way. Kid can fly. He's a bird.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys, make sure you start putting your questions into the chat box. We'll start sprinkling them in as we go along. So let's pull one up here from the Big Moo, who asks, is it true what I read that the Giants aren't playing Paris because he'll get an extra $100,000 per game per his contract terms? Moo, all I can say is that is accurate as far as he does get a per game roster bonus. Is that the reason why he's not playing? Draw your own conclusions. That's all I'll say. I mean, I have my thoughts about it. Paris Campbell, I think he's a very good player. I don't think he ever really fit in, though.
They didn't use him right at all.
Yeah.
They didn't use him at all. I don't even know what they brought him in here for. Watching him run 3-yard routes.
They had to bring in, a million different slot receivers?
Yeah.
They thought that was more important than bringing in a swing tackle or edge rusher?
They did bring
still
in
don't get that.
Too.
I was excited about
Jake Crowder.
No. I was
kept
excited
Jake Crowder, if nothing else, to return punts. I mean, our punt return unit was terrible.
Yeah.
Although Olszewski's been pretty good.
Right, but we got him, week 9, 10, somewhere in there?
But they screwed that one up, too. And Shane took ownership of it. I give him credit. He took ownership of that. But, you had Jamison Crowder on your roster and Khalil Pimpleton, and you force-fed, Eric Gray, who had never done it before. I just didn't. Man, I'm telling you, this year, normally I can understand the decisions that the coaches make. I don't agree with them. There were a lot of decisions that were made this year that I was like, what the heck are they doing?
Yeah, this is definitely a wake-up call for Brian Daboll this year. I'm not. You can't defend a lot of the decisions that he's made. We go back to the week 1 against Dallas, leaving Daniel Jones, and that is one of the most ridiculous decisions I've ever seen in New York Giants.
How they set up the and training camp, the preseason. Yeah. You only play the starters for one series against a crappy Carolina team.
That was a highlight of the first unit offense this season. That in the second half against Arizona. Who would have known? Chris and I watching the game going, man, his offense is cooking, boy. We got Daniel Jones is 7 out of 8. Counted for all the yards, scored a touchdown. Darren Waller got involved. I forgot who else got involved in that, but Paris
I think
Campbell got
I think
involved.
Campbell made a catch. Yeah.
What
everyone.
happened to Isaiah Hodgins this year is my question.
Isaiah Hodgins, the impression I get, and I could be totally wrong. This is my take on it. He was a flash in the pan last year. A guy that came in, they were having injuries and losing guys. He knew the system. He was able to step in and help them. They wanted to maybe gravitate towards the next level of the offense. And the level that they were looking to kind of gravitate to doesn't really fit what Hodgins can do well. That's the impression I got.
Well, nobody's done it. Nobody's done it well. So
exactly. And another head scratcher decision. And I love the guy. Everybody knows I love him. I've gone on record as saying it. Sterling Shepard being on this team.
He hasn't been
I
used.
love him to pieces.
Yeah.
But he's taking up a roster spot. And what really are they getting out of him other than, a positive attitude, a guy who coaches guys up? I mean, if that's the case, bring him in as an assistant coach or something.
Yeah, he doesn't contribute on special teams. I agree with you. I thought at the beginning of the year, I'm like, all right, kind of makes sense. Wandell's not playing.
Right.
Kind of makes sense. But if we're being honest, and Shane would probably say this now, if they go back in time, they would have rostered Jamison Crowder. For the punt returns alone, they would have rostered Jamison Crowder and not rostered Sterling Shepard. It would made a lot more sense to roster Crowder just for the fact that he could return punts.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, absolutely. All right. Moo's got another question here about Eric Gray and why isn't he out there at all? I'm not so sure his pass blocking is up to snuff, Moo. I think that's a big reason. Usually with a young running back, if he's not playing, it's because his pass pro is not up to snuff. So that, and also, he lost time because of the injury. Sometimes you got to take a step back with these young guys, as opposed to throwing them back out there in the deep end of the pool. Let them catch their breath a little bit. I think Eric Gray will get his opportunity. It just won't be this year. And oh, by the way, did everybody see Gary Brightwell suddenly disappeared from the injury report? He was supposed to be in the 21-day window, and he is now off the injury report, which to me says he ain't coming back this year, which I'm not surprised.
I gotta be honest. I forgot he was even on the team.
I was surprised he made the team. I thought Corbin stood a good chance to make it over him. And
well, I'm guessing Brightwell is because of special teams.
Yeah, no, that's exactly why he made it. But yeah, it's Gray. I think he'll get more of a role next year. I don't think he'll necessarily be a starter, but he'll take over like Breida's role next year. Like I think he'll be, if we bring back Barkley, which I still think we will. I think he'll be the primary backup to Barkley.
Yeah, I think Breida moves on. He's a free agent. Yeah. I see James Vegas asked about Breida and why is he getting snaps? Because he's experienced. He can pick up the blitz, pass pro, and all that stuff. So that's why he's getting snaps right now. All right, Jordan Samiti asks, who would replace T-Mac if they moved on from him? This is going to be very unpopular. I'm
you like
sure.
him?
But no,
Judge.
I'm not so sure they move on from T-Mac. I go back and forth on this. I mean, there are days when I think they absolutely should, but I just get vibes that he might be here again next year. I mean, I'm not sure why I'm picking up these vibes, but part of the problems, you lose Gano, and now you're on your fourth kicker. Gillen's hurt. The punt team for a while there was I think the number 2 overall punt team, the punt coverage team. But then you look at, the mishaps, like not having enough guys on the field, guys not maintaining their lanes. And I don't know. I go back and forth on this. I really do. I mean,
I think you should be fired.
I think a change is needed too, but I'm not so sure that it will be.
And I'm not usually a guy that likes to call for people to be fired. The special teams has been bad. And this year, it's shown glimpses of being better, but the special teams have been bad here for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. That would be, my strongest case for arguing to move on.
Yeah.
I
get rid of him. I get
rid of last year, really.
I get rid of Johnson too. I'd get rid of the O-line coach and the special teams coach. They'd be the first 2 out for me.
Who
Yeah.
else would you get rid of from the coaching staff?
If I'm Dable,
Kafka.
I'm firing Kafka because
Especially if you're bringing in a rookie quarterback, I would imagine he's got to
Yeah.
be gone.
Oh, there's no question.
because it's on me now. Like if I'm Dable, I got this job because I'm an OC, because I'm an offensive coordinator. I'm putting the ball in my job is now I'm on the hot seat going forward. This rookie quarterback, I'm going to live and die. This is my job. I'm going to be the one calling the plays. So if I'm Dable and we're drafting a rookie quarterback, see ya. Good luck somewhere else.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
And you promote maybe Shea Tierney, who I think would get the job as OC, but he would kind of be like that Mike Sullivan OC where he's got the title, but Dable's really the one who's going to call the shots. I still say that's how it's headed. I think that the Giants are going to, in time, Dable's going to go back to calling the plays, especially if they bring back Wink. It makes sense to, Wink's experienced enough. Let him run the defense. Don't worry about it. Get it, whoever the special teams coordinator is, let him run special teams and let Dable focus on getting that quarterback that they're going to bring in up to speed. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. Amazing guy doesn't like us saying that. Read his last comment. I know he loves Daniel Jones.
Well, I mean, amazing guy. Joe Shane has said they're going to address quarterback, whether it be a draft pick or whether it be a free agent, or it might be both for all we know. Maybe they bring in a free agent on a cheap deal. They're gonna do it. I mean, whether you like it or not, that's a reality.
Well, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter what you like or what you don't. This is not our decision. It's Joe Shane's decision. You don't. Joe Shane don't care what the fans think, right? Fans play Madden. We sit here on YouTube, Twitter, whatever. We give our opinions, but there's a reason that we are where we are, and he is where he is. So again, if you're Joe Shane, and I'm not even talking about being a GM of a football team, I'm talking about your job. I'm talking about job security. If you want job security, and you say, if I go with a rookie quarterback, I'm buying myself at least 3 more years because he probably isn't playing next year. And then you're going to have 2 years of him at least, on the clock. So you bought yourself an extra 3 years. Yeah. If you stay with Daniel Jones, and again, I know I said this already, lack of production aside, Daniel Jones comes out next year. First 3 games, Giants are, 1-2 or 2-1. And Jones played well. He's thrown 6 touchdowns. He didn't throw any interceptions. He's played well. And then he gets hit, and there goes his neck. And he misses the entire season. And there's Drake May balling out for New England. What happens to Joe Shane?
Bye.
Joe Shane can't take that chance. That's why the quarterback makes the most sense for his job security. And for the fact, again, we're going to be in year 6 of Daniel Jones, and we are still making the excuse he has no weapons. He has no line. He's had all these coaches. You should be able to see some quality in this guy. There should be a wow factor with him. He was drafted 6th overall now. Is that his fault? No. But when you're drafted that early, your job, especially when you get a second contract, is, hey, we believe you can elevate players around. Why do other quarterbacks elevate the players around them? But it's like Daniel Jones, well, everybody else has to elevate Daniel Jones. And if Daniel Jones doesn't succeed, it's this guy's fault. It's that guy's fault. It's Garrett's fault. It's Kafka's fault. It's Dable's fault. It's the line's fault. It's the line coach's fault. It's the receiver's fault. They can't get open. They drop passes. How long are we going to do this?
Yeah,
exactly.
The fact
about putting guys on scholarship. Can we agree that to a degree Daniel's been on a scholarship?
The fact of the matter is Daniel Jones is replaceable. Like almost every quarterback in the league, outside of about 5 or 6, he's replaceable. Right. And when you give the team the opportunity to replace you, especially when it's a rich quarterback draft class, they're going to replace you. The fact of the matter is this: if Dak Prescott had a year like Daniel Jones had this year and got hurt 2 or 3 years ago, and they were picking 4th or 5th in this draft, they would have drafted a quarterback. Dallas never had that opportunity because Dak didn't play bad or he didn't get hurt. And you could say the same thing about the Vikings with Cousins and so many of these other quarterbacks. They are replaceable. And if you give the team an opportunity to replace you, they're going to do it. I'm almost as sure this year that we're going to draft a quarterback as I was that we were going to sign Jones. I think
I'm
we're
with
drafting
you.
a quarterback.
Look
I
at
know.
Washington, right? Washington was rolling with Sam Howell.
Yeah.
They gave him this year. You thought that was it? It was a 1-year trial. Washington's picking third. Washington's going to take quarterback. I'd be shocked. Now I'm pressing that they don't. I like this. Sam Howell's a beast. You got to get the right coach in there, and you got to keep him, and just draft a lineman or draft Brock Bowers or get Marvin Harrison. I don't really want Marvin Harrison in our division, but just get a lineman and roll with Sam Howell. Leave the quarterback for us.
Even
But
more of a
Washington's
reason, by
not
the way.
doing that.
Even more of a reason, Bad Dog, as I'm thinking about it, why we're going to trade up for a quarterback. Because if you're Shane and you sit there and the Washington Commanders get an opportunity to draft Drake May, you are going to be destroyed.
Right.
If you had the opportunity to trade up and go get that quarterback.
Yeah.
We're trading up for a quarterback. I'm 85% sure of it. We're going to
Like
trade
I
up for a
said,
quarterback.
this is the year to go to the combine. Last year, not so much so.
Yeah.
This year, I'm gonna do everything I can. I'm gonna move heaven and earth to get there to see
Yeah.
what I can pick up, because always some interesting stuff. And usually the intel I'm able to pick up, some of it does come to fruition. So that's certainly going to be on the agenda for me. I was either that. It's funny. I got credentialed to do the Super Bowl, and I'm like, as much as I want to go to Vegas because I like Vegas, what's the point of me going to the Super Bowl?
That doesn't
Right.
help the Giants.
None.
Yeah.
The combine, I think, is more important. But
Right.
I got to see if I can
Definitely.
work all those details out.
Yeah,
I
if we were
started
picking
looking at it
25th again, it wouldn't, you'd take the Super Bowl. But with the
Yeah.
situation the way it is,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's definitely more exciting for Giants fans. Let's go look at, and that's the other thing. People are like, oh, Giants fans just want a shiny new toy. I just want something different. With shiny new toys come out every draft. That's why I call the NFL. That's why I call the draft NFL Christmas.
Yep.
Everybody gets their shiny new toy.
Yep.
But like I said, people are like, oh, the wide receiver, I'm sorry, quarterback could suck. He could be a bust. That's right. We don't know, but we do know what Daniel Jones has been for 5 years. We have seen this for 5 years. We do know what he is. We do know his capabilities. We do know his limitations. We do know his injury history. We do know the Giants have not won with him there. We do know all of this stuff. So, yeah, there's a chance that they take Drake May or they take
And we also know,
stinks.
and we also know, if you read between the tea leaves, Joe Shane isn't completely sold on Daniel Jones. Joe Shane had the opportunity to sign Daniel Jones on the 5th-year extension before he started a game last year, and he didn't do it. Joe Shane last year signed Daniel Jones, as he should have, because he didn't have a choice. Now he has
an escape hatch.
Now he has a choice, and I think he's going to take it.
Yeah, I think you have to for your own job security.
Yeah.
And again, best case scenario, they draft the rookie and Daniel Jones plays well, and there's trade value, because you're not going to hold Daniel Jones after this year if you take a rookie at all. So best case scenario is he plays well and they get something back for him. I mean, if they don't take a rookie quarterback and again, he gets hurt, Joe Shane loses his job. And then here we go again with the new GM. And who is it? I mean, this is the funny thing. Say they don't, and say they have a bad year next year, and Joe Shane gets fired. And they bring in a new GM, and the new GM could say, I don't want this freaking guy on my team because I just came in here. I don't want him. We can cut him now. We're like the cap hit's not as bad as it was. I don't even want him. The first thing the new GM comes in and goes, you know what the hell with this guy? I don't want this quarterback. I'll take Shedeur Sanders, whatever.
Yeah.
They push him out. So what'd you do? You delayed it a year? Like the Giants fans that are sold on Daniel Jones, do they think that Daniel Jones is going to play through this contract and then get a 6-year extension? Do you just want to hold on to Jones to the end of the contract and he fails, and then you just delayed the inevitable for an extra 2 seasons? Or do you really think that this guy all of a sudden is going to stay healthy, become explosive, learn to progress as fast as he needs to, throw receivers open, scan the field, and do everything that he hasn't been able to do in the first 5 years? All of a sudden he's going to find it? See, I don't have that confidence. I thought last year he did. I thought last year, hey, this is a perfect system for him, which is why I said the Giants should sign him, which is why I was like, hey, Daniel Jones can play at this level. He comes out this year.
What's that?
I still think he can,
But I
just
just,
not here. Not here.
Not here.
yeah, I just don't think his upside warrants bypassing the ability to draft a quarterback in this year's draft, especially when you factor in the risk of injury.
Right.
And that he's coming off an injury too.
Yeah, like to me, Daniel Jones, I still think he
Serious
can become, he could be the level of a Dak, in my opinion, or Kirk Cousins, if he had what they had. But he's never going to be more than that. That's how I feel about Daniel Jones.
And we may never have what Dallas has. We may never have a CeeDee Lamb and a Cooper Kupp and a great offensive line. That may never happen for him.
And if you could get a guy, listen, I don't know how you feel about Drake May, BadDog. The more I watch of this guy, the more I'm like that.
I have a hard. And this is what you call the logo scouting or helmet scouting or whatever.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with ACC quarterbacks. I have PTSD. Dave Brown, Daniel Jones, Mitch Trubisky, Sam Howell. I'm not saying Drake May can't be great because I didn't like Ohio State quarterbacks. Look at CJ Stroud.
I'm gonna tell you what.
If he brings Drake May, I'm gonna be happy with it. I'm not gonna be.
The more I watch a Drake May, the more I see Josh Allen. And yeah,
if that's the case, Chris, they're going to get Drake May because we all know that they love Josh Allen.
His traits to me, some of the throws that dude can make, crossbody throws. He is big. He can
He's
run.
got an arm. I know that.
I'm going to tell you what, Drake May is going to be a monster. And I think as a Giants fan, what that could be with Brian Daboll. And if the Giants have an opportunity to get this kid, they're going to do it. This guy's going to be tremendous if he gets put in the right spot.
Well, he's not going to be in the right spot immediately because I don't think
that's
anybody right now.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. And I mentioned this shows ago. You draft a rookie quarterback and you know you're going to do that. Right? So you know you're going to make these calls before the draft. This does not just happen on draft night. They're going to make these calls.
Combine is where all that chatter is going to start.
Right. So say the Giants already have a deal in place. We're trading up, getting Drake May. So now they're going to have, so they know this. Now they game plan. All right. Now we have 2024 offseason. We're going to start building around Drake May. Daniel Jones is going to start. And then next year, guess what? You have another year. So in essence, you have 2 years to build around your rookie quarterback because you're not going to build for Daniel Jones in 2024. If you know you're getting Drake May, you're going to start building for what you perceive to be Drake May's strengths.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have all of 2025 to do the same thing in free agency and in the draft. So in essence, you got 2 seasons to build around that rookie quarterback and put him in a better situation.
Yeah.
Right? That's something that Daniel Jones did not have
at
all. He got thrown into the fire. We were a terrible team, and he's never recovered.
No,
I don't solely blame Daniel Jones for Daniel Jones's failure or the Giants' failures. They failed him. The way I look at it, he got paid, so that helped him, but they failed him.
Well, I mean, at least he's got something he could take away, right? I mean, if it doesn't work out here, which, I don't know that it does. And, maybe, who knows, maybe down the line, they look to trade him once he's healthy. If they do go ahead and get, a new quarterback, through the draft to be their franchise guy, certainly a possibility, I would think. So,
yeah.
Anyway, let's take our last break. I got a quick break I got to take. And then we'll continue taking your questions. So pop them in the chat box and we'll get to them right after this. Hey, Giant fans, if you've got a specific food craving, but you don't have that food readily available in the house, or maybe you're wanting a meal from your local favorite restaurant, but you don't have time to run out to get it or to sit in the restaurant, you don't have to, thanks to DoorDash. DoorDash can bring you whatever you want, when you want it, morning, noon, and night, including groceries and items from convenience stores. For years, I've trusted DoorDash to deliver freshly made meals from my favorite restaurants, whether I'm at home or on the road. And more recently, I've relied on them to bring me items from my local pharmacy and convenience stores, as well as from my local grocery stores. And they've never let me down. DoorDash brings you what you ordered, or they will make it right. And you can save on all your deliveries with a monthly Dash Pass membership that more than pays for itself after just a couple of deliveries. There's never been a better time than now to join DoorDash, as right now for a limited time, you can get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to $10 when you spend $15 or more. Just download the DoorDash app and enter the promo code LOCKED23 at checkout to get your introductory discount. Offer subject to change. Terms apply. Hey, Giant fans, as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers Stay Hot on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and score big this NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, everybody, welcome back to Locked On Giants Live. You got Traina, Tana, and Dog. And, guys, it's interesting, the DoorDash commercial, and I'm thinking to myself, gosh, we haven't talked about food yet. It seems like we always talk about food on this podcast. And I don't know what you guys are planning to do for New Year's Eve. I know I've got the Giants game on Sunday, but tomorrow I'm having my New Year's Eve celebration. Going to go to a nice little grill up in northwestern New Jersey to celebrate a little bit early.
I wish I could show you guys the prime rib roast that we had for Christmas. 10
Oh, you had that too? That's exactly what we had.
Yeah, 10 pounder.
Ooh.
It was fantastic.
I think ours was 30 pounds.
That was for Christmas.
My sister-in-law went
Christmas.
to get the meat, and she goes, it was very strange. She said, I've never seen this. She goes, I was walking around with that meat in my cart, and she goes, all these guys kept looking at me. I'm like, yeah. And they were definitely looking at the meat because it's what we do. She goes, no, she's like, I know. She goes, you've probably just never seen a woman with, literally it was 30 pounds, because my wife's got a big family. So
Yeah.
that was good too. That was good. But New Year's Eve for me, it's, there's no celebration. I got the Giants, got the Lakers, and then I'll go upstairs and watch Twilight Zone until I fall asleep. I'm almost 50. I don't care about the New Year.
Yeah, that definitely. But just had to throw that in there. And by the way, DoorDash is actually one of the many services I use, and I recommend it if you guys don't already use it. But anyway,
My wife uses it all the time.
I live on DoorDash. My husband loves the convenience. But anyway, let's get back to Giant football. Let's see. You guys got some questions. Let me see what we have here. I saw a question earlier. Somebody asked, and I apologize. I didn't mark it, but somebody asked if there would be a concern if Brian Dable took over the play calling, and how would that affect game management, something that he hasn't really been good at this year. And I wouldn't be too concerned about that, because that could be just reassigning whoever's doing, recommending to call for a challenge and other stuff. That might just be a shifting around of the duties. I mean, what do you guys think of that?
Chris has mentioned this before. It's a big reason why I think Wink should come back. Wink is an experienced defensive coordinator. If Dable is going to call the plays, especially if you're going to get a rookie quarterback, again, you're going to be tied to him. You want him to succeed. Chris mentioned, I don't think he mentioned on this show, but when we were doing our show, you don't want, when it's your job on the line, you don't really want to pass the buck and have somebody else be responsible for your job. If you get an offensive coordinator and that rookie quarterback starts to suck, and they're going to look at you, I'd rather just say, you know what, if he stinks, I'm going down with the ship. I want it to be my fault that he failed. I don't want to put my trust in somebody else and he does it differently than I would do it, because then you're going to have dissension between the coaches. If you're like, I don't like the way you're calling the plays, then you're going to have that. Wink Martindale's experience, he wouldn't have to worry about the defense barely at all.
Yeah,
I see it, but
and I see it the same way for Shane, and why I think they're going to take a quarterback. He's going to want his guy. He's going to want to put the onus on him. And I think Dable and Shane this year say, this is it. This is our guy. We're putting our jobs on the line today, and we're going to sink and swim with this decision. But at least we're going to know that we took the swing.
You nailed it. You don't want to put your job. You don't want to have Gettleman be responsible for your job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think will happen. That's what I thought would have happened last year if the team was bad, but they weren't. They were good.
Yep, absolutely. Now, let me see. I think James Vegas, and I lost lost the spot here, but James Vegas, I'm pretty sure, was the one who asked us who the top 3 quarterback prospects are. Besides, I guess Drake May, Caleb Williams, and I guess the question was who would be the best fit for the Giants?
Well, most
Drake
people are going
May.
to say Jaden Daniels. He's soaring up people's mocks. And I mean, I guess that's what I would say. I think that's what most people expect. After that, it becomes a matter of opinion. I like McCarthy. I haven't shied away from that. I would not put him on the level of a May. I think, and of course, Caleb. I still think Caleb's the best in this class. McCarthy's either my 3rd or 4th favorite. I like McCarthy, but he's, to me, May and Caleb are in another class of their own.
Yeah. I like Michael Penix. I haven't shied away from that at all either. I like Michael Penix.
Isn't he?
He's a lefty, but I still like him. I still think
he's got a good arm. He's got a very good arm.
I think he's the 3rd best quarterback in the draft. Yeah, obviously a lefty switches stuff up. You have a bad right tackle so far, so that obviously would be a big concern. But it's not like lefties can't succeed in the league. But I like Penix. Great arm. His leadership is huge. You know, people are like, oh, he's old. I mean, he's 23. Like, I wish I was 23. I know when 23 got old. Michael Penix is not old. If he was with the Giants for 15 years, you're not going to go, oh, God, well, we would have got him. He was 21. We'd have him for 17 years. I mean, you're going to be happy. So sometimes that experience helps. Joe Burrow was 24 when he was drafted. So I'm not so concerned about the age. People talk about his injury history, and somehow there's this rumor that he tore both ACLs, which is completely false. He tore the same ACL twice because the first time wasn't healed, and that was 5 years ago. But yeah, he's not. You watch him throw the ball, it's amazing. But Jaden Daniels is that wow talent. So again, like Chris said, it's a matter of preference. I do think that Caleb Williams is the best, though. I love Caleb. Yeah. I'll stand by that. I think he's got the highest ceiling.
Yeah.
Mentally, there's questions there. And listen, man, Joe Shane's got his favorite too. We all have our favorites. Shane's got his. Shane's the one that matters. We'll see what he does.
Yeah, I think Caleb and May's ceiling is about equal. I just think both their ceilings are the stratosphere. But I think Caleb's the safer of the two. I think so. I'd have Caleb 1, but I think both their ceilings are like I could see them. I mean, obviously, you never know with the draft. Like a lot of it depends on where you get drafted, the work ethic, health, staying healthy. But like to me, like they could be on the level if all pans out of the upper, and I don't mean top 10. I mean the upper echelon quarterbacks.
Right.
The Allens, the Mahomes, like they could be that level. They have that potential.
And that's what the top 30 visits are for.
Yeah.
To get to know the guy, to see if they can handle. They ask these tough questions, see what their personality is like. And that also goes into not just the combine, but they have these visits for a reason. And when they have all these interview processes and they go through all the film and they look at all the stuff, that's how they come to their decision. They're obviously your physical talent may jump off the page, but they go, well, I don't really like his answer to this, and I question this about him. And instead of Caleb Williams being there, we're gonna take Drake May or vice versa, or whatever it is. So
all right, here's a good one. We talk about quarterbacks, veteran quarterback options, and amazing guy wants to know, would you sign Tannehill to back up DJ? And I'll take this question a step further. Which veteran quarterback do you think maybe would be a good fit for the Giants?
I think that's a good one. Like if the Giants didn't draft a quarterback early in this year's draft and they said, let's take one in the 4th round, 5th round, developmental, I think Tannehill's a good fit. Naturally, I think he plays a similar style to Daniel Jones. It's why they frequently compare Daniel Jones to him. That's not a bad option for a stopgap backup. I don't think Giants fans would be happy with that. But if they didn't draft a quarterback early in this year's draft and they wanted to go that route, which I don't think is the right decision, I would rather spend our cap money elsewhere and draft our future quarterback. But if they elect to go with Jones this year and they want a solid veteran presence, a guy that could push Jones and potentially start early on in the year, I think Tannehill's a good fit.
I wouldn't have a problem with Tannehill.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're going to bring back Tyrod Taylor. Taylor, I think, is going to look to move on. And that's why these next 2 weeks are so important for him, to really show it. But Tannehill, I mean, as a stopgap, I can live with that.
Yeah, I think he's a good fit for a natural backup for a guy like Daniel Jones.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what else we got. Somebody also mentioned Flacco, but Flacco's more of a statue, right? If I'm not mistaken.
It's crazy to me what Joe Flacco's doing. I was watching that game on Thursday night, and I'm like, because the Jets and Browns are like identical. Like both of them have great defenses, and I'm sitting there, I'm saying to myself, if the Jets would have signed Flacco as soon as Rodgers got hurt, this might have been the Jets. The Jets might have been 11-5 right now.
I got it.
They're the Jets. They're the Jets.
They're the Jets. But Flacco's playing out of his mind. He's playing great for the Browns.
Flacco's probably going to be AFC Offensive Player of the Week with that performance.
He might be comeback player of the year the way he's played. The dude threw he threw like 1,500 yards the last like 4 weeks. He's been playing out of his mind.
Listen, Joe Flacco has as many passing touchdowns this year as the Giants do. That's all you need to know. The fact. We both have 13 passing touchdowns. Giants have 13 passing touchdowns all year between all three of their quarterbacks. Flacco's got 13 in 5 weeks.
Yeah. It's been wild.
Muted Growl has this statement. Go back and watch the Vikings playoff game and tell me DJ doesn't have the talent.
I think he
Shall
does.
we debate this one?
I think he does have
in 5 years.
He has talent.
Yeah,
but
I don't think he has elite talent, but I think he has top 10 talent. Top 10 talent doesn't always work out. Jake Plummer, a top 10 talent.
Josh Rosen had top 10 talent.
Yeah, but yeah, I do think Daniel Jones has talent. I would call him like a poor man's Josh Allen. He's not on that level, but he has talent. He has ability, but I don't think it's going to work out here. I hope it does. Like if they keep him, I hope he becomes the next incredible quarterback. But I'm at a point now where I'm like, I think it's time to move on.
The other thing is, Chris, for every game, somebody says, go back and watch a Viking game. I can tell you, go back and watch these 5 games.
Yeah.
What changed in the Vikings game? Was the line
a lousy defense?
Well,
right. I mean, I can go back and name a number of games where he didn't play well. And what's the difference? So you're going to pick out one game in 5 years? And then I'm going to show you film on this. Go back to, 2021 when they played Tampa and he threw the pick to the lineman when he just threw it right to the lineman. That's because this guy ran the wrong route. So of course there's going to be an excuse.
I think it was Bobby Skinner. It might have been Bobby Skinner or Doug Rush. Somebody put a post up and said, what was the turning point for you when you turned off of Daniel Jones?
Yeah, it wasn't him. It was Spartan Mike because I responded to it. And that was it. I said, listen, I wanted to believe after last year that he could do it. But that game against Tampa, that was really when I just was, I can't support him anymore. And then I was on his case for years. And then last year, I'm like, maybe he needed Brian Dable. Maybe that was the guy that got the best out of him. And then this year was just, again, he's hurt. I don't know what else to say. He's hurt.
Yeah. And I see Pete say, come on, Tina, top 10 talent. Yeah. What? That's not saying I think he's a top 10 quarterback. That's saying I see he has tools if everything came together to be a top 10 quarterback. Do I think everything's going to come together? Of course not. No, I don't think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. But I see the tools. Like I could see why he was drafted in the first round. I see the tools. I see tools with several quarterbacks, though, and several quarterbacks don't work out.
Right.
Yeah.
Josh Rosen didn't work out.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold didn't work out. Mitch Trubisky didn't work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes
Jake Locker didn't work out. Jake Locker.
Sometimes you just have to cut your losses.
Yeah.
And, 6 years you've had with this guy.
Yeah.
How much? Look, I wanted Daniel to work out. I was actually, I'm like, please let him work out because I was getting tired of all the people coming at me and saying, oh, Daniel is trash, blah, blah, blah. Let's be honest, guys. The guy's processing speed is a problem.
It's slow.
He took a step back. His internal clock is all messed up. And I get it. Yes, the offensive line was garbage, but you can't expect everything to be perfect in front of you. At some point, you have to say, okay, you know what? My offensive line maybe isn't the greatest. So maybe, you do like a young Aaron Rodgers. You run around and you buy time in the pocket and you make these great throws. I don't know. I just know that you can't expect everything to be perfect. And that's the impression I kind of got with Daniel Jones.
He's not a franchise quarterback. That's all you need to know. And that's it. And if you have an opportunity to take a guy this year that you feel could be a franchise quarterback, you do it. That's as simple as there is. That's it. He's not a franchise quarterback.
For me,
the
guy keeps beating the drum here, I think, in favor of Daniel Jones. I get what you're saying, amazing guy, but I'm sorry.
He's not a franchise quarterback.
At some point, you gotta say, all right, you know what? He got the opportunity. Yes, the situation wasn't perfect, but at some point, you just got to say, all right, when's it on him as opposed to his environment? Stop making excuses for the guy.
I see it. And I love Fabian, big defender of Jones, much like amazing guy. He says Eli spent 10 years of 16 in misery. Eli Manning won a Super Bowl in his 4th year in the NFL.
Right.
An amazing guy is saying even Mahomes is struggling. I'm sorry.
Mahomes has 26 touchdowns and 14 interceptions.
Yeah, you're going to compare Mahomes to Daniel Jones? Come on.
The quarterback play across the board this year is down because teams are going to 2 high safeties and they're making everybody beat them with 12 play drives as opposed to 3 or 4 play drives. But Pat Mahomes, I've seen this before too. I also seen this stat. Oh, Daniel Jones' year last year is the same as Lamar Jackson's this year. Number one, no, it isn't. And number two, just watch the guys play. There is no way feasible. I don't care what the hell the numbers are. You can sit there and watch Lamar Jackson play and Daniel Jones go, they're on the same level. Those guys are exactly the same. Stop it. I wonder if these people, if you mess up, how many times you make excuses for yourself? Sometimes you just have to go, you know what? I screwed up. It's my fault. It ain't, I screwed up. Well, that happened over there. Well, this happened over here. Well, this wasn't right. Well, I had this and I had the wrong lunch today and I put the wrong directional on. And well, I woke up 5 minutes late and I didn't shave. And what the hell? We're talking about year 6 and we're still making excuses. It's got to stop. It's got to change. Whether it's Daniel Jones or the line or the coach, whatever the hell it is, it's been 5 years of misery. And you have to change something. And it needs to be a major change. If you go to work every day and you hate your job, but you keep doing it, and you're miserable, and then another job presents itself, and it's a better opportunity, are you going to sit there and go, well, I'd rather just sit here and be miserable and make excuses as to why I didn't take the other job? Come on, man. What are we doing here? It's time for a change. And Joe Shane isn't going to sit there and go, I'm going to allow Dave Gettleman's draft pick to decide my future. It ain't going to happen.
Amazing guy still beating the drum for Daniel. Still beating it.
Well, he'll be beating it somewhere else next year.
I'm sorry, amazing guy. I mean,
or in 2 years, he'll be a Giant next year. 2 years, he'll be beating it somewhere else.
I admire your admiration for Daniel Jones and your defense of him, but again, that was last year. It's a what have you done for me lately? And yeah, he had one good year. Well, you could say the Giants had one good year, in the last 10 or 2 good years in the last 10. The fact of the matter is the Giants have still been a bad franchise over the last decade or so. So
Flacco beats Lamar. Flacco does not play against Lamar. The quarterbacks do not play against one another.
Yes.
The Browns defense
Flacco and Lamar have nothing to do with this conversation at all. Flacco has nothing to do with this conversation. Joe Flacco, you want to use Flacco? Fine. Daniel Jones threw 15 touchdowns last season, and he got $160 million. Joe Flacco has thrown 13 touchdowns in 5 games, and he was sitting around doing nothing. So now, do we want to compare Joe Flacco to Daniel Jones? Is this the next thing we're going to do? Like, what does Flacco and Lamar have to do with Lamar and Daniel Jones? What does it have to do with watching the guys play? Just watch them play. Just watch. There's no way you can sit there and go, yeah, Daniel Jones, man. It's hard to differentiate him and Lamar Jackson. They're two, just ignore Lamar Jackson's MVP season a few years ago. Just ignore the fact Lamar Jackson threw 36 touchdowns because somebody said, well, both Daniel Jones and Lamar Jackson only threw for over 3,000 yards twice. Well, Lamar Jackson also ran for over 1,000 yards twice, won an MVP, and has pretty much made the playoffs every year he's been in the league. So
he's about to win his second MVP.
And the amazing guy is saying, well, Flacco has Amari Cooper. Did he have him last night or was he inactive?
Yeah,
he didn't play. Cooper didn't play last night.
I mean, come on, amazing guy. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. It's like you guys, your shoulders and hands and arms gotta be tired from moving the goalposts. They gotta be. Do this in the gym. Pick it up, put it down. Pick it up, put it down. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's time to move on. It's time to move on.
It's time to move on.
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe we're wrong. Maybe Joe Schoen feels differently. Brian Dable's already come out and said that Daniel's going to be the starter next year, which I believe he had to do because you don't want Daniel sitting there and oh my God, is my job in jeopardy? You want him to focus and get right.
And you also can't give away.
Maybe that's a psychological move. I don't know.
And you can't give away draft secrets. You can't be like, oh yeah,
exactly.
Can't be like gentlemen.
Yeah. So and by the way, technically speaking, he's right. Daniel Jones will start next year to start the year, regardless of what we do. So
right.
He didn't lie, but he's not going to be like, oh yeah, well no, we're probably we're going to do everything we can to trade up to 2 to get Drake May. He's not going to tell you that. It's not going to happen.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
So he had to say it. He couldn't go in and say, well, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be.
Yeah.
Because now you're telegraphing what you're going to do.
When people sit there and say to you, oh, you just hate Daniel Jones, it's the farthest thing from the truth. I'm just being objective, and I'm just telling you, this is what I see. I'm not making any. Listen, I'm a Gen Xer. I don't make excuses, right? Players make plays. They don't make excuses. I'm not making excuses. I screw up. I have a bad take. I own it. I don't sit there and go, well, this is the reason I came out. No, it's my opinion. I'm wrong. Okay, I'm wrong. I'll be wrong again. And guess what? I'm right too. Who cares? Who cares? Everybody's right. Everybody's wrong at some point. But it's like this day and age, for some reason, people they'd rather just be right instead of being better. Like, you have to think deep down inside, as people know, there's a reason this is not working here. There's a reason the Giants are really bad. It's not 100% Daniel Jones' fault. And nobody that's saying replace quarterback saying it's all because of Daniel Jones. And all we need is Drake May. And we'll be 17-0. And we don't need anything else because everything's in place. It's just the quarterback. Nobody's saying that. But if you're going to make a change, that is the absolute most important position on a football team, which is why quarterbacks always go as early as they do. And when they fall like they did in, 2021, Chris, right? It was 2021.
2022.
Right?
2022.
2022. When they fall the way they did, then that's how you know it's not a good draft class. Yeah. That's how you know it is not. This year, there's too many quarterbacks. There's too much talent there. You cannot sit there and put that off. If you want a quarterback in the future and go, well, we'll just wait till next year. You can't do it. It's not.
And in response to Amazing Guy's latest post, no, I don't think the fans will be calling to fire Dable and Shane. If you bring in a rookie quarterback, you got to give the kid time to develop.
Some will.
How many more years are you going to get Daniel Jones to develop?
Right.
Yeah. They brought Dable in here to be a quarterback guy. The way I look at it is let him get his quarterback now. That's it. Like, if you're being real, when we first hired Dable and Shane, you were like, okay, Daniel Jones is going to be replaced after this year. And he wasn't because he played well and the team exceeded expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's changed. He did not. He got hurt. Not his fault, but he was not playing well before he got hurt. The team bombed. They're in a position now to draft that quarterback. Let them draft the quarterback. That's my mindset.
It's nothing personal against Daniel Jones. Right. I see people saying, oh, you're a hater. You don't like Daniel Jones. Oh, Daniel Jones won't talk to you. No, it has nothing to do with that. I've spoken with Daniel. I get along with Daniel. I have nothing but respect for him. I'm talking from a football perspective here. It's been 6 years, guys. How many more years do you need to continue making excuses for him?
That's exactly it, Patty. I don't know what else we need to see. Because like I said, you don't know what, like I said, we could draft Drake and he could suck. And if the but that's the whole thing, Amazing Guy. If that quarterback does suck, that is Joe Schoen's job. That's his job. But if you're going to go down, you have to go down with your guy, not the previous GM who got fired because that quarterback didn't play well and the team didn't play well. That's a big reason Gettleman was gone.
And if he sticks with Jones this year, he's going down with Jones. That's
right.
If you bypass the opportunity this year, you're going down with Jones.
I'd want to go down with the best possible guy. And can you sit there right now and say that Jones is the best option out of everything out there? I'm not so sure you can.
Not with this draft class. If they have an opportunity to get one of these guys, no.
You just, as a GM, you can't sit there and go, I'm going to go down with Jones. I didn't draft Jones, but I'm going to go down with, if Jones fails, I'm going to go down with him. No, you're not going to do that. You're not putting your future in somebody else's hands.
And to the point about, you've got to play Jones anyway next year. They didn't play Eli Manning, and he was making what, $19 million? He was probably the most expensive backup quarterback in 2019 when they decided to flip the switch to Jones. So you do have to carry Jones on the roster, but that doesn't mean you have to play him.
And listen, if they elect to roll with Jones, I hope it works out. And that doesn't mean that Jones is going to be, and that doesn't mean they're sticking with Jones forever. If they say we're going to take our lineman here or take our wide receiver, we're going to keep building. What other choice do you have? You're like, okay, let's hope the team gets better next year.
That's what I said on Twitter. If Daniel Jones is a quarterback next year, we don't take a rookie, and he's our I'm rooting for him. It's not like I'm going to go, well, I wanted a rookie quarterback, so I'm going to root for Jones to suck. No, I will root as hard. I don't care who the hell the quarterback is. Could be the man in the moon for all I care. If you're wearing Giant blue, I'm rooting for him.
I just fear as a fan. This is just my fear. If we stick with Jones this year, we're gonna be in quarterback hell. That's what I worry about. Where we'll be a team that is good enough, but never good enough to win a championship. Good enough to keep ourselves out of the top 10 as Shane continues to improve this roster. This is the opportunity to take the quarterback, and as a fan, I think they need to. If the opportunity presents itself, if we can't trade up, we can't trade up. You can't force a trade. But if the trade's there, I want them to take the quarterback.
Here's the bottom line, guys. And Amazing Guy said, oh, we all just want to win. Yes, we all want to see this team do well. I've said it millions of times. My job is easier when this team wins. When they lose, I struggle with my job because now I've got to, what am I going to write about? What am I going to talk about? And the mood of the fan base, the mood of, the media, it takes a downward turn. The bottom line is that Joe Shane and Brian Daboll have got to look in the mirror and be honest with themselves and say, okay, can we win with Daniel Jones? No. Let's go out then and get the guy that we feel we can win with, that we feel we can develop to run the offense the way we envision it. If they're going to just say, oh, well, we got money invested in Daniel Jones, so we'll roll with him. They're not really being honest with themselves. Money should not be the deciding factor here, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Fabian, nobody here is saying that we're one piece away. Like BadDog just said, we all realize if we get Drake May is going to probably suck early on in his career because he's not going to have the support. Just like Daniel Jones did not have this support. We realize that. We realize that this is a multi-year fix, but we also realize you don't know if you're going to get an opportunity to draft a quarterback as talented as a guy like Drake May in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years. And we know that Daniel Jones, at least everybody's entitled to their opinion. I don't think Daniel Jones will ever be an elite quarterback. Could he end up being a good one? Yeah. I don't think he'll ever be an elite quarterback. If I got an opportunity to draft a guy that I think could be an elite quarterback, I'm doing it. And I'm filling out the rest of my team over the next 2 or 3 years. That's what I'm doing.
Let me ask you guys in the chat that are all about Daniel Jones. Does it not concern you at all, his injury history? Does it not, like I said, he could be coming out and playing balls out. Yeah, he could be killing it. He could be lights out next year, right? He balls out. He has a great first 4 games. And then he has a neck problem again. He gets hit. Even if the line gets better, they're never going to keep him upright 100% of the time. One hit, he goes down. He's out for the year again. Or he tears his ACL again. So, I mean, I'm not wishing that upon him, but the fact of the matter is 2 neck injuries. Neck injuries are freaking serious. That's not a soft tissue injury. That's serious. Torn ACL. They're major injuries. Does that not concern you guys at all? these are the same people, Chris and Patty, that tell me I don't want Penix because he has an injury history, but we gotta ride with Daniel Jones. Wow, this is what makes my mind blow, and I'm already a little crazy. And then I read this stuff, I'm like, I don't understand. How can you sit here and advocate for Daniel Jones and him being the future, but you're worried about Penix's injury history? I don't get it.
Davian said Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl with a broken neck. Did Peyton Manning have an injury history though, or was that just a one-off?
It was a one-off.
Yeah,
okay. Daniel Jones has had.
I think his neck was broken when he won the Super Bowl. Now Kurt Angle won the gold medal with a broken freaking neck, and I'll tell you that. I was a big wrestling fan back in the day.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. Real quick, I didn't mean to interrupt you. When he had the neck surgery, what happened to him? Did Indianapolis go, hold on to the neck injury guy? And he's one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of football.
And by the way, the year after they let him go, he set the record for most touchdowns in a season. But Indianapolis realized we're picking at the top of the draft. We have an opportunity to draft an elite quarterback that could be the guy for the next 15 years if we fix the line, which they didn't, which is why he had an 8-year career. But they went out there and said, get me Andrew Luck.
And how good was Andrew Luck?
He was one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the sport for those 8 years.
Right. So there you go. But that's my point. They got rid of Peyton Manning. Like they want to use the Peyton Manning thing. They got rid of him. He's one of the greatest ever. Daniel Jones ain't Peyton Manning. He may have ties to Peyton Manning, but he ain't him.
An amazing guy saying the neck injury for DJ wasn't severe as the one in 2021. How do you know that? What are you going based on the number of games he missed? A neck injury is nothing to screw around with, whether it's severe, whether it's if you got a neck injury and you're being held out of contact, that to me is significant. I don't care, if it's season ending or whatnot. If you're being held out of contact because you've got a pinched nerve, and I know I've had neck injuries. I still deal with one where I get numbness down my shoulder. They are not fun, and you just can't mess around with them.
Yeah.
That's just it ended David Wilson's career very early.
Yeah.
Neck injuries are nothing. It's nothing to mess around with. It just isn't. Peyton Manning had 1. Daniel Jones already had 2. And then he tore his ACL on top of it. So again, add the slow processing speed, add the bad O-line, and then add your quarterback, who one of his best weapons is legs, is now coming off an ACL tear.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's we're deflecting here. We're deflecting. Well, Peyton Manning did this. My question wasn't what Peyton Manning did. You could have just answered, no, Daniel Jones' injury doesn't concern me. You could have just said that. But instead we say Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl after his neck. Does Daniel Jones' injury history concern you? Because it certainly would concern me, and I'm sure it concerns the front office.
And I see Anthony say you just answered that. You proved the point. Luck had to retire early. Yeah, because they didn't fix the line. They had 8 years to do it. The fact of the matter is, if they don't fix the line for Daniel Jones, he's going to fail too. Like, no matter what they do with the quarterback, whether it's roll with Jones or trade up or draft the quarterback in this year's draft, if over the next 8 years they don't fix the offensive line, yeah, he's going to fail. That's up to Joe Shane to build the roster properly.
Correct.
But you got to, it's the most important position. Yeah, you have an opportunity to reset it and draft a guy with high upside. You do it.
Yeah, and they will fix the offense. I mean, look, again.
Well, don't say that.
Well, no, listen. Andrew Thomas is going to be, we can agree he's a stud. We think John Michael Schmitz is going to be okay.
I think it'll be good.
The jury's still out on Evan Neal, obviously. Get a couple. If you can get 3 solid guys, you can get by with 2 mediocre guys, I think, on that offensive line.
If they pan out, yeah, I agree.
Andrew Thomas has panned out.
He has panned out.
John Michael Schmitz, do you think he's been a bust?
I'm too early to tell. Here's what I'll say about John Michael Schmitz. Here's what I'll say about John Michael.
He's been up and down, and he's been hurt.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be good.
This is why I'm not going to overreact with JMS,
and get better coaching in there.
Yeah,
That's the other problem
here's what
that
I'll say,
nobody's
Patty.
talking about.
Here's why I'll say, Patty, and why I'm far from saying JMS is a given. I felt better about Will Hernandez after his rookie year than I feel about JMS after his. So for me, he could be really good, but I got to see a lot more. So Andrew Thomas, I'm with you. I'm sold on Andrew Thomas.
Okay. So you figure John Michael Schmitz takes the next step. And again, I do believe they're going to address the coaching situation. You find another solid offensive lineman. You hope, and I know this is a long shot, but you hope that the light goes on for Evan Neal. You could probably get by with, like I said, I think the scouting academy is where that's why I keep saying if you have 3 solid offensive linemen, that's something we learned in the scouting academy.
Yeah.
You can have 3 guys, and then 2, if you plug in 2 mediocre guys, that's going to give you a solid line. You go back and look at the 2007 offensive line that the Giants had, 2007, 8, 9. Can you honestly say that all those guys were studs?
Well, they were
Sneed
when
was
they
the
were
stud.
As a unit, they were.
Unit they were.
Right.
Yeah.
Sneed, I'm talking individually though. Sneed was a stud.
Yeah.
Okay, you can make a case for O'Hara, I guess.
Yeah.
McKenzie was good. McKenzie was good. Very
McKenzie
good.
Was good.
Yeah.
There were 3 right there. Then you had David Deal and Richie Seibert.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So can you say they had 5 studs on that line?
As a unit, they were studs, but individually,
As a
they
whole,
did not.
yes.
Yeah, they did not have 5 studs individually.
Okay,
yes,
so that's what the Giants got to try and get towards.
It comes down to Evan Neal, in my opinion. That's
absolutely Evan Neal is the pivot point.
Yeah,
absolutely,
that's the key.
Absolutely.
Fabian says, "Look at Washington going the rookie quarterback. You do realize Sam Howell was a 5th round pick, right? A 5th rounder. So I'm going to take my chances with a top 5 quarterback over a 5th round quarterback. And Washington is not good. And they have not been good at all.
Yeah.
At all. They've been terrible for 30 years. They're worse off than we are. Not only have they been bad for 30 years, I think they've won 10 games 3 times in 30 years.
Right.
On top of that, they can't beat the Giants to save their life. Whether it's Jones, whether it's DeVito, whether it's Tyrod Taylor, whether it's Patricia Traina, Entertainah, BadDog. They couldn't beat us. We own Washington. But let's not compare Sam Howell, who is in his first year as a quarterback, with a team that is falling apart at the seams and going through a transition phase to, hey, we got to go out and get a dynamic playmaker. You can't tell me, looking at Sam Howell, and I know none of these guys are taking a snap in the NFL, but if I'm looking at Caleb Williams or Drake May and looking at Sam Howell, talent gap is pretty obvious there.
Yeah.
They're not even close.
And somebody, by the way, said all 5 of those offensive linemen that I referenced were Pro Bowlers. McKenzie never made a Pro Bowl. I just looked it up.
Yeah. Deal did.
Deal did. O'Hara did. McKenzie did not.
Did Seibert?
I'm trying to think. Did Rich Seibert make one? I'm trying to remember if he did. Let me look that up. I'm thinking he didn't, but I could be wrong.
But I got to be honest. Pro Bowl is not, it's a popularity contest. Evan Ingram made a Pro Bowl.
Seibert didn't make one either.
Evan Ingram made a Pro Bowl with 1 touchdown. Robert Tonyan had 11 touchdowns. You figure it out. It's
right.
All Pro. If you're first team All Pro or second team All Pro, that's legit. When you hit that, that's legit.
Yep.
That's legit.
I mean, look at what they're doing now with Pro Bowl voting. Oh,
I was going to say, especially nowadays.
Christmas Day, and it counts for 2 votes. What's up with that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Especially nowadays. I don't even know what the Pro Bowl is anymore.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
It is.
All Pro. Absolutely.
Last year, Huntley made the Pro Bowl last year. He threw 2 touchdowns all year for the Ravens. He made the Pro Bowl.
Right. I mean, in 2000, I think it was 2010, Sean O'Hara made the Pro Bowl, and he was injured and missed half the season.
Yeah.
I mean, guys,
that was a reputation vote. That was a reputation.
Yeah, it really is.
So,
happens in baseball too, guys. I think the All-Star team, it's popularity.
Yeah.
Yep. It absolutely is. You want to go with All Pro, that's where it's at, not Pro Bowl.
All Pro is you're really, really good. First or second team. First team All Pro, you're the best, but second team All Pro is it weighs way more than a Pro Bowl appearance.
And Sean says, Tanner, were you sold on Andrew Thomas after his rookie year? Actually, close. Yeah, I remember making a video on it that I thought he was going to be really good his second year, but I still needed to see more proof. And by no means am I saying that I think JMS is going to be bad. I'm just saying I am in a wait-and-see approach. I don't know what he's going to be. With Andrew Thomas, I thought that you saw over the course of that year, he was getting progressively better in his rookie year.
Especially after Colombo was gone.
And you found out that he had the hurt foot and his talent was off the charts.
And the coaching, yeah.
Yeah, but I still think JMS is going to be good if I had to pick one way or the other. But I got to see more evidence before I'm like I'm sold. He's definitely going to be the center right there.
I'm optimistic about JMS.
Yeah.
I think with better coaching, and also he had injury issues and has been
shoulder and that damn push crap.
Yeah. Oh God, they got to get rid of that play. I hate that play so much.
Yeah.
Stupidest play in the league. Stupidest play in the league. And I hate when I hear the broadcasters give Jalen Hurts credit for that. Because it's like, they're like, oh, he could squat 600 pounds. Saquon Barkley could squat 600 pounds. So if the Giants had the Eagles offensive line, we could do the same thing with Saquon Barkley. Taysom Hill could squat 600 pounds. The Saints could do that. But the Saints and the Giants don't have the Eagles offensive line. It's not because Hurts could squat 600
And that's exactly what happens. You see the beginning of that play, it's a standstill, and then the Eagles offensive line falls forward. They always boom, and then Hurts goes.
They're going low and they're becoming like a plow.
Yeah,
that's the effect. So
and then he's got thrhree guys pushing him from behind.
Yeah. So the plow is what cuts out their legs. And I did Seattle come up with a way to stop that tush push where they sent somebody at the pusher and they went lower. Didn't they stop them on at least one attempt?
Maybe once. I think they need to do what Carl Banks said.
Idea too, by the way.
Yeah,
they got to jump over the top of them and hit them.
Yep.
Hit them.
I don't
they
care.
They have to ban that
rule. You're going to
get
it anyway, but
they have to ban that rule. And I understand people say, "Oh, you should be able to do it." I mean, sometimes you have to make rule changes. They got rid of the shift in baseball. Like sometimes you have to make rule changes. They got to get rid of that play. It doesn't belong.
Carl Banks. He took some fire on Twitter for saying that, and I laugh at the Eagle fans. They're like, "Oh, you're irrelevant." Blah blah blah. I'm like, number one, the man's a Hall of Fame nominee. He's a two-time All-Pro. He's an All-Pro. He's a two-time Super Bowl champion. That's not irrelevant. Number two, I love that Eagle fans get mad when your freaking head coach literally your old head coach, Buddy Ryan, literally put bounties on players to hurt them, including Lawrence Taylor, who said, "Oh, watch this, going to have 4 sacks in that game." He never did that again. But Eagle fans don't know that. And I said, if you didn't just jump on the bandwagon in 2017 and knew your damn Eagles history, you know that your head coach literally gave players money to try to hurt other players. So let's not talk about, that's Carl Banks. Blah, blah, blah.
No, next time you do a video about Eagle fans, let me know, because that's going to be must-see TV.
They're the worst. They're the worst.
Worst in Dallas?
They're the worst. Well, the Eagle fans are worse than Dallas fans because they're very passionate. They're like New Yorkers. Right? And I always say Philadelphia and New York are very similar. And we're very loud, and we will defend our team, and we'll be really hard on our team. And we will defend our team. Cowboy fans, I feel like, are more casual. They're not really based in one section. They're all over the country. And I feel like a lot of them just kind of say, Dallas is the cool team to like because they're the Cowboys. Where Eagle fans just love the Eagles. I don't know how much. I don't know. Of course, there's Cowboy fans that love the Cowboys or diehards, but I would say a bigger percentage of Giants fans and Eagles fans are diehard as opposed to Dallas fans. So Dallas fans can be annoying, but because I feel like Eagle fans mirror us, they're more annoying, which is why I can understand people think Giants fans are annoying. I get it.
All right, we'll take a few more and then we'll call it a night. Let's see. We got one from David L. Who do you think the Giants might bring in to coach up the O-line and the offensive coordinator, play calling, etc.? David, I want to see the coaching carousel, who gets fired, who becomes available. I do think if Kafka leaves, I'm pretty sure Shea Tierney's going to get promoted to offensive coordinator. And if that happens, Dable's going to be the play caller. Yeah. But offensive line, if they do part with Bobby Johnson, I got to see who becomes available before I can give you an answer there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know much about like offensive line coaches around the league. I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
but I do think that, like I said, Tierney probably take it over, but he's just going to have the position. I think.
Yeah, like Shula did.
Dable's going to call the plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's see. H5000 says, quit playing games with Neil and get the Penn State O lineman.
I don't think they're doing it. So,
I don't think so either.
I don't blame H5000 for feeling that way. He's supposed to be an elite tackle. You know how much I love tackles. But this year I'm going to want a quarterback. I'm not going to hide that. But I wouldn't be crying if we took an elite tackle prospect. But Joe Shane has basically said they're not doing that. Like, he literally came out and he strongly said that Evan Neal is going to be the tackle and they need to get things right. So that tells me we're not taking a lineman in the first.
Unless he did that to throw people off the scent.
I don't think so. I felt he was very sincere with that. I think Neal's going to be the tackle next year.
Yeah, I don't think so either, because I don't think you're trying to throw somebody off of a tackle. Quarterback, different story, where you might be saying, we're rolling with Daniel Jones, and we're, even if they are not, like you said, you have to, but that could be smoke. But I don't think they'd say we're rolling with Evan Neal with the intention of let's just throw everybody off and we're going to take a right tackle 5th overall. I just can't see as big as that offensive line is, and as necessary as it is. And as Giants fans, we know it's a necessity without question. It has got to get better. The quarterback is the most important position, and you have got to find a quarterback that can rise above adversity and not the best situations. You cannot just sit there and have a quarterback that, we have to have everything right, and then he can succeed. Because Daniel Jones, we don't live in a utopia. No football team lives in a utopia where everything is perfect. There's always going to be something. And again, the injury history, one hit is all it takes. Don't even need to be a sack. It could be a touchdown. He could throw a touchdown, get hit as he threw the touchdown. He could get hurt. I mean, he's had an injury history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Before we wrap up, guys, let's just, rather than do a game prediction, because I don't think anybody cares about the game on Sunday, let's just wrap it up with our top 3. If Joe Shane doesn't do this during the offseason, he should be fired predictions.
I don't think there's anything he could do this offseason that's going to make me think.
I can't
he should be fired.
Well, the top 3 things he's got to do.
I'm going to say it. And again, it's based off circumstance. So the opportunity may not be there. But if he has the opportunity to draft Drake May or Caleb Williams, he needs to do it.
Yeah.
I don't care what you got to trade up to do it. Like, if you got to give up next year's first-round pick, okay. You traded Leonard Williams to get that extra second-round pick. So the way I look at it, if you got to give up a second-round pick this year, you're trading Leonard Williams, you're swapping first-round picks where you're getting to move up, and you're giving up next year's first-round pick to get the quarterback of your choosing. You do it. It's the most important position. So he's got to do that. If he has the opportunity to do that in this year's draft, he's got to do it. You talked about the edge. Got to. We've got to get a legitimate edge opposite Kayvon Thibodeau. Massive need on that defense. I think it would change things dramatically. And he's got to get a number 1 wide receiver. We've been talking about this forever. They don't have one on this roster right now. They need that.
Yeah, hard to argue with any of those points. The quarterback is the most, without question. That is an absolute necessity. Again, you could talk about Daniel Jones' lack of production. You could talk about losing. For me, that's definitely a reason to replace him. But this injury history, these serious injuries, and again, he's a guy that runs. He's a slow process speed. Our offensive line sucks. And now all of a sudden you have a torn ACL, which means he probably ain't going to run. You're certainly not going to ask the guy to run a ton. And some players recover from that immediately, and some players it's in their head. Saquon Barkley was definitely not ready. He looked scared the next year when he recovered from that ACL. Usually it takes 2 years for somebody to recover from that. Robert Griffin III never recovered from it. So that's a major question. You have got to take the quarterback without question. Yeah, and
I'm just thinking as you're talking about, Doug, another thing I should have mentioned: offensive line coach. We need a new.
I was going to add that.
I was thinking personnel, but offensive line coach as well.
I think that's going to happen. But I will say this: it's not a fireable offense, but I saw a mock draft. Brock Bowers of the Giants makes no sense. And there is no way on God's green earth we should be taking a tight end of the top 5.
Yeah.
It's not fireable. And because I put it out there and Chris said, well, if that happened, my Daniel Jones reaction will look like a Disney movie.
It would.
That's what he said. And I said, if Patty said, I don't know if anything could ever top the Daniel Jones reaction. I can't promise you that I would or wouldn't react. I don't know how I'd react if they did that.
I would be happy. Snap my laptop in half. I would literally snap my laptop in half if we took.
I would not be happy if that happened. That's something they're not going to do that at all. But and you mentioned a fireable offense. He wouldn't be fired, but to me, that's a fireable offense. That tells me you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah, so, when they drafted Daniel Jones, that's what I said. That's a fireable offense. Obviously, I was hoping I would be proven wrong. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be. I would say the same thing if they drafted Brock Bowers. Name me one tight end that was drafted in the top 5 that was worth a top 5 pick.
Not Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, no. Kellen Winslow, no. I think he was a top 5 pick. Junior, I'm talking about. Yeah. No, didn't work out. So I'll stay away from that.
Travis Kelce was a 3rd-round pick.
The top 3 tight ends in the league were day 3 picks.
Right.
Kittle, him, Mark Andrews, I think, was maybe a day 3 pick. Like, no. Right. Do not draft the tight end with the 5th pick.
Right. And then somebody on Twitter's like, well, I'm thinking about Mark Bavaro. Mark Bavaro was the 100th overall pick. Mark Bavaro was picked in the 4th round. He wasn't picked 4th overall.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but let's not compare Brock Bowers to Mark Bavaro, please.
Oh, goodness.
Any Giants fan with a grain of salt that grew up or watched Mark Bavaro, but let's not compare.
Tony Gonzalez.
Right. Yeah, Tony Gonzalez wasn't a top 5 pick.
Antonio Gates certainly wasn't.
I think. They're picked 13th.
Yeah. So
where was Gates even drafted? I know he was he was more of a basketball guy than a football guy. I don't even know.
He was, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't.
I'm pretty sure Jason Witten wasn't a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
He ended up being pretty
good. I don't.
Antonio Gates was an undrafted free agent, and he's arguably one of the top 2 tight ends of all time.
Yeah.
I
think Tony Gonzalez was number 1. And Gronkowski, he wasn't a top 5 pick.
Yeah. I think there's enough evidence there to suggest that it would be stupid to draft a
tight end. That one there's your fireable offense if there is one.
Yeah.
All right.
Only because I saw someone had that mocked on Twitter. I'm like, what? What?
You're like, what? I know. I saw that too, and I was like, don't think so.
Yeah.
Not high enough that need. But anyway, guys, as always, it was a blast. We'll have to do this again at the end of the season once Joe Shane speaks, and we have Baggy Day and everything like that. So another couple weeks or so, and we'll kind of just wrap it up and kind of get into that off-season mode. I know we talked a lot about it tonight, but great time. Good catching up. I was glad we did this. I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight, participating. I hope you had a fun time with us. And be sure to keep it here on the Locked On Giants podcast. I'll have all new shows next week. Also, Entertainah and BadDog will be doing their show. Make sure
we'll be doing the game. We'll be doing the game on BadDog.
That's right. We'll be bringing
it.
We won't quite bring in the new year, but we will be live on New Year's Eve.
The other thing I'm going to say is I just have a feeling this Rams game is going to be close. I just have a feeling. I think a lot of Giants fans are just assuming we're going to lose out. I'm probably picking the Rams. I think we're going to have a chance to win this game.
Really? See, I felt like that against Green Bay.
That you want my life to be made miserable on a deadline since I've got the
I don't think it's going to be close. The Rams are red hot right now.
Yeah, I just get that feeling, man. I just get that feeling.
I just don't.
Does it matter at this point, though?
No, I'm not even necessarily. I'm not even saying I want to win. I'm kind of indifferent, but I honestly think it's going to be a competitive game.
I don't. I don't. I'll be shocked if it is. Because, like I said, the Rams are just red hot. That offense is firing on all cylinders. And this Nakua kid is unbelievable. Cooper Kupp, Stafford is a veteran. I mean,
the running game has been amazing.
Yeah, they've been really good. I just don't think we don't have the offense to keep up with those guys.
Yeah, if it's a shootout.
Defense has been really good, but if we're not forcing turnovers, we're not scoring points. It's just the way it is. Whether it's Ben Jones or Tyrod or DeVito, like Chris said, we scored our points on a fumble at the 14, which is 3 handoffs to Barkley, mind you. Yeah. Tyrod had nothing to do here.
Let's
Saquon.
save the miracle for the last game of the season, knocking the Eagles out of
That would be
home
bad. If
That's
we're
field
gonna
what I
win
was
one.
trying to
whatever.
back.
Yeah, if we're gonna win one, win that one. The
Yeah.
That's what I want.
problem
I
is
want
though, Patty,
badly.
because the Cowboys have been playing so bad. Even if we beat the Eagles the last game, they're probably still going to win the division because they own the tiebreaker.
I don't care. I
against Dallas.
just want the satisfaction.
Just
of
the
beating them.
satisfaction of getting getting the
Yep.
monkey off the back. Yeah.
That exactly. I could go into the off season with a smile on my face for that.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
All right, everybody. Again, thank you. Have a good night, and we will talk to you again soon.
Absolutely.